Mm-hmm.
Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, and with me I have three wonderful people and one Meyer. See, he thought that was a joke too. Meyer's actually not here with us tonight, but he was.
What's that about?
He may actually
Paul?
he may actually show up tonight. So as a result, I've decided to bring him here in spirit. He's right there. That's Meyer.
It's right there.
Totally right there.
That's the real Meyer.
That's a real Meyer. A real Meyer.
He's just really, really still.
It's real to me, Paul.
Well, this late at night, I can understand. You have to stay extremely focused, otherwise the mind starts to wander.
Yes, completely.
Pretty much.
So, first of all, I'm going to say these are the wonderful people who are here, and this person right here is very wonderful, and you should get to know him. Who are you? What should you be? Yeah, you.
My name is Nighthawk Zale. I'm primarily a Star Citizen streamer. Sometimes I do creative streams. You can find me here on Twitch, Nighthawk Zale, _ in the middle of that. Same thing on the Twitters. Pretty much everything I do is Star Citizen focused, so yeah. I'm a simple guy.
All right, and then the next wonderful person who's been begging me to get onto the captain's table for like a month. But every time he's like, I want to go on, everyone's already filled up the slots. He's like, oh.
Begging, groveling.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right. Hi, I'm Nakara. I am part of Relay.sc. And you can find me on Twitter at Nakara. And on Discord and other various places. And yeah, I've been on the show a couple times and I missed it, so I bugged Paul. So here I am.
And then we've got the wonderful, the most energetic, absolutely ecstatic, the shining beacon of energy himself, Meyer_Tess. What do you do here, Meyer?
Meyer?
Okay, well, I guess that's he's actually moving so fast he looks like he's standing still. Next lastly, and always lastly, we have Papa Dolvac. What do you do, Papa Dolvac?
I'm a trash person. I come on to ruin Paul's career on his Twitch channel and get him banned off Twitch. That's kind of my life goal. And while I'm doing that, I'm also streaming now. As of like last week, over at twitch.tv/Papa Dolvac. Mostly every single weekday, around 4 p.m. Eastern, subject to change. So if you enjoy subpar Twitch streams, trust me, I got you on lock. Okay.
In terms of Meyer, the reason why Meyer is so still is because Meyer is actually doing he's doing the mannequin challenge right now, and he's just being as still as possible for this entire time.
He's surrounded by lizard people which control the American government. And if he moves, they'll take him over and wear his skin.
He's got to be super careful.
Yep.
Thank you, Alex Jones.
And unfortunately, I was not able to play Quake last night. I've been in the beta for a while, but we'll probably play it at some point soon.
Quake is good. It's good.
It's good. It is good.
I kind of like it. Although it has a problem with like if the matchmaking is kind of trash, so people get in the game and then like within the first 10 seconds it's decided who's going to win, and the other people say fuck this, and they just alt F4, and it's like 4v1 for the rest of the game.
Yeah, well, that has a lot to do with population and beta and such like that, because it's still very much not ready yet because of that. But for those of you guys who don't know, this is the Captain's Table, which is a Star Citizen podcast where I bring people from all over the community together to talk about Star Citizen. Community. Here tonight we're going to be talking about everything during this week. However, we'll go wherever we feel like it. If Meyer wants to talk about the eccentricities of the UEE government system and its plans for expansion into Xi'an space, then we'll go on that one. If Pop Dolvac wants to talk about why Xi'an farts smell worse than Banu farts, then we can talk about that. It just doesn't matter. Like
they don't though. That's false information.
So that's the people. That's the reason we just kind of go wherever the subject matter takes us. But before we get to the random shit, I do want to start off with a little bit of a structured thing. How did you guys like this recent ATV?
Informative.
It was. I don't know. I thought it was great. There was a lot of interesting stuff all shoved in there, and it's interesting to see how much the interaction system has changed.
Oh, yeah.
No, so I will disagree with a lot of people on like the quality of ATVs on most weeks. I think since they started doing their new form ATV, there's probably been about 3 really stellar ones, and this is definitely one of those.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are like kind of excited over weeks that I feel are really kind of a lot fluff. But this one was of the highest bar out there. This one was really, really solid, I think.
See, the key was
oh my God, the Reclaimer.
The key with this week was that we had a very strong showing in terms of the monthly report from Manchester, and then we had a very strong showing in terms of like an actual thing we care about in the universe with the actual like the feature. Because what they've been doing is they do the report, then they do the feature of the week, and the feature this week, which was the interaction system, gave us CIG was just like slipping shit in there that we had been asking about for months and not even talking about it. Like they just show hacking and are like, yeah, this is a example of like the interaction system. They show locking. This is an example of the interaction system. Like, what? you literally just showed us locking and hacking without saying it's locking and hacking. Fuck you. You know?
It was like I think I was on Tuesday or something where they showed like a sneak peek. Maybe it was Wednesday. And it was of the engineering like habitation areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a quick little image on Sandy's Twitter or something like that. And there was like a backpack, like in the background, and like the background of it. People are like, you people can't just fit a backpack and like not explain what the shit that is. What it like? They always do this to us.
Yeah. They just kind of mention it, and then I think half the time. Half the time, I think it's not intentional. Like they just happened to talk about it because they were talking about it in the office, and
it was too much. If they were to go into detail in literally everything they showed off, we'd get like nothing ever shown off.
Well, not only that, but the show would be like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
I think honestly, the ATVs hopefully going forward are going to start showing like the level of complexity the game is reaching.
That was what really made this one so good for me. Was how complex the interaction system is getting. I'm like, actually had this thought during it. I'm like, hey, this looks like an actual game now.
Hold on. Let's we've all been talking, we've been dominating this discussion. Let's let Meyer take this. What do you think about this, Meyer? That's insightful.
Oh, guys, I think the podcast is kind of shitty, guys.
Yeah.
I didn't like this week's ATV. I'm contrarian. Look at my hat. My hat's red. I'm Meyer.
Meyer's always so insightful with all this stuff. So insightful. Thank you.
Thanks, Meyer.
Nighthawk, what was your takeaway from this ATV though?
Well, I mean, so pretty much you cannot watch this ATV without taking something away on the interaction system. It sort of dominated the entire episode, and with good reason. You know, up to this point, like you were saying, with complexity, I think one of the most complex things that we've seen besides the zoning system, showing off that fractal universe, the endless boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. And maybe one other thing, like the mission system.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing compares to this, the interaction system in terms of complexity. Like this literally branches out into every single aspect of the game, every mechanic, every asset, every set. It's almost overwhelming. I've had to watch the episode 4 different times, and every single time I still keep coming up with new notes, things that I missed previously, because either I was paying too much attention to an image and didn't catch the word, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. I was listening to the words and missed several images. The first time, I didn't even notice the locking.
Yeah, the locking that they went over several times.
that excites me to no end.
Yeah,
Being able to lock the door behind you.
And I mean, they've even said that they've had the system in. That system is kind of already in the game, because they've said that the locking system for allowing permissions, giving permissions to players for specific roles, is something they've been working on for 3.0. The idea of being able to, like, hey, you're an engineer, you can only use my engineering console. I'm the only one who can access every system in the ship, but the captain can delegate the roles for everybody else. That's exciting, and seeing how it's being done almost Rust style, which is just, hey, digital codes, digital numbers. The problem is that I know everyone's code, and it's always going to be 4242. So I don't know why anyone bothers locking doors, because I'm going to steal everything you own. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm not a pirate, but you lock a door, I'm just going to put in 4242, and if I get in, then I'm just for being stupid, I'm stealing everything.
Here's my thing. We were talking about this last night. When it comes to hacking and locking systems and all of that, I really hope there's a wide variety. Like they really make this a diverse thing, because different equipment is going to require different approaches, different tools, different techniques, or at least they should. I really don't want to have to punch in the same five number code and just be able to hack into anything because I can guess the right 5 digits.
There's a certain someone in your Discord, Paul.
Meyer, if you want to come on
down. I would also really like to have an opportunity to maybe, instead of hacking, dumping a 5-digit number into a panel, I just bust the panel open, cross a couple wires, and I'm in.
If you fuck up, you'd be electrocuted.
Yep.
But that's a risk you have to take, Why not? There are ups and there are downs. If you don't do it right, you get shocked.
I also like the idea of having a like tiering difficulty. So like hacking into, Dovak's ship is going to be easier than, say, hacking into a UEE supercarrier. Or Dovak could spend the extra money on like ridiculous locking mechanisms that have like 15 different digits and lip sensors and shit like that.
How else are you going to keep them in? I mean, nothing.
And this is actually only focusing on things like locking the doors on ships. I mean, aren't we going to be able to have certain secure cargo crates? Wouldn't we be able to secure other items? Maybe we saw the backpack. We know inventories are coming, and we know that it's going to be based on the space you have available physically on your body. Mm-hmm. So what if you can come up with some kind of a hard pack that has a lock on it? There's so many ways to do it. So many approaches and so many means to provide that mechanic in so many different areas, and they haven't talked about it.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing that they didn't show with the interaction system that I'm interested in is inventory. Because interaction system is important, but how are we going to access inventory? I get you, Meyer. You're looking fantastic, by the way. You're doppelganger, Doppelmeyer. We've got Doppelmeyer on right now. He's looking absolutely fantastic, as you can see.
You're going to be able to access your inventory through your mobiGlas. That's how.
But like the thing is that they've said multiple times that they want everything to be physical. So there's no magic box that you're like throwing. Like there's no bag of holding, right? You're not throwing thousands of potatoes into a bag that's just infinitely deep. And you can have like 1 billion 30 stacks of potatoes. Like,
I can't have infinite space potatoes. Are you ruling?
No. That's the one exception, obviously, but everything else, no. So what they have to do is they have to figure out how to make that reasonable. Even something like I know this is not exactly what they're going for here, but something kind of like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds does that in a way where it's like your inventory is expandable depending on what you have on you, and it's and like I know that's not really what they're going for there, but it's almost a similar thing where it's like, hey, this is like physically here. And there's a lot of like quality of life stuff to make that like a little bit less realistic than what they're going for, but they have to find that balance between, hey, let's make this realistic, but also not intensely aggravating, because I could tell you about some military sims that rhyme with Parma 3 that are intensely frustrating at certain moments.
Yeah. I think that I think there's all sorts of, like, if you build the underlying systems well, I think there's all sorts of ways you could address it. Like, you'd even have little drones that'll go back to your ship and carry your crap back for you if you want.
Well, they kind of showed a little bit of that off. Not cargo drones, obviously, but
Nope, but the little video drone that was
That
following
live
that guy.
feed drone
Yeah, that was so
amazing. Absolutely amazing, because that pretty soon here we're going to start streaming in-game.
cool.
And can you imagine dual streaming in-game and in real life simultaneously?
the thing is, I don't think it's gonna actually be like that. This is my suspicion from understanding how picture-in-picture works. What they were doing there seems like either impossible or like incredible, and I'm not really sure which. What I think that was actually was a pre-recorded like a video file.
No.
Nope, this is a
No, that's what
technology
they were
called.
talking about.
No.
This is a technology called render to texture.
No, I understand that, but I don't
You
think
think
it was
they'd lie to us,
picture-in-picture
Dolvac?
rendered to texture. So like how it was shown off there, and
Yeah.
we had to go talk to a engineer to figure out what's happening here. Was a camera like attached to that drone object, like actually seeing what's in front of it, taking that and rendering that picture to picture,
Yes,
or
absolutely.
we don't know that because they didn't say that.
Well, that's
one of
what-
two options.
That,
Well,
that
what
was
they
the
were talking about,
technology they were talking about when they were
Well, the
showing that.
technology they were talking about, render to texture, that is what that
render to
is.
texture is different than picture-in-picture. They're different things.
Well, but they're
Well,
okay. So
what
they're
they were
doing the
showing is render to texture, and that's what that is.
and they're trying to use
I
render to
know,
texture
but what you're
as
saying
a
is picture-in-picture. Picture-in-picture, you can
Actually,
do multiple things to render to texture. You could, so for instance,
So
you could play a pre-recorded video file on a texture in the in-game world, but it does not have to be live, and that's why I think there was demoed there. But the other option is
That was what they demoed at Gamescom last year, and they said we want to get rid of this and replace it with render to texture, which is what this is.
Yeah, that's the question. Is that picture-in-picture?
we don't know what we don't until we talk to someone. It's
Well,
a
that's
little
what
hard to
they.
figure it
That's
out.
actually what they
In
said
the
during
studio
episode.
report, also in the studio report, it says it's the render to texture feature.
All right.
So
No, I know what render to texture is. I'm saying
But
there are
that's what they
multiple
said in
uses
the
for it.
episode. Was this is render to texture, and here it
I
is
know,
live
but
in action.
define render the texture.
Well, render to texture is what they were showing. It's a
It's-
live,
no,
live taking
I
that
know,
into put it on the here.
In one sentence, explain what render to texture as a technology actually is and what it does.
I'm not a computer scientist.
No, but you
It's
can
rendering
you can
something with texture,
Yeah.
which does not necessarily mean it's live.
well, that's not necessarily true, because
multiple
if you
things
go
can
back
fall
and you
into the
watch the
definition of
ATV,
render to texture, including having a pre-recorded video file being rendered onto a texture in a game world.
But they were able to
But-
do that before, and they could do that.
I
at
know, but they
Gamescom last year.
in this ATV, I don't believe they actually said like this is actually this.
they didn't
Yes,
say they didn't say.
they said yes. They said in the ATV that this is the render to texture technology that they're
I
trying
know
to
they said
implement
it was the render
in
to texture
order
technology.
to set in place all of the holographic displays. So that specifically, they were talking about this technology in use for displays.
I mean, there's one way you could try and to see whether or not. And sorry for being late, by the way. I hope
should be.
Doppelmayr was okay. Filling in for me.
It's okay.
But,
Take it out of your portion of the commission.
One way of at least looking at it and trying to see, I guess, whether or not it's like truly like a camera like taking it and rendering it to the texture back is to like when it does descend, but does the camera itself descend? You could like probably do it pixel for pixel and see with like, because I don't think they'd have the time or the effort or the patience to make it so that if it wasn't doing it exactly like as it was, like a 1-to-1 like
Or
No,
you
I'm
just go
saying-
stand in front of it. Just go stand in front of it and see if it changes.
yeah exactly.
No, I hope it's that. Don't get me wrong. I just have suspicions that that's not actually what people are thinking that is.
All right, so New Lexicon has posted a link from Spectrum from a staff member named Jeff Birch, who said in Lumberyard it's not possible. 'Cause someone asked if it would be, is it possible to make a window in Lumberyard engine that doesn't show outside of the room, but instead outside of the building ship. Could this be used to make a monitor up for a bridge or that middle of the ship without a real windows? He said, no, it's not possible in Lumberyard. However, we've been working on a feature called Render to Texture, which would make it possible. However, its practical is totally different question. I wrote something about the tech recently in the monthly update, so I'll just paste it here. Here what I wrote for you to elaborate a little more what it means. Specifically, Render to Texture is a feature that has many possibilities, but is currently required to fulfill two goals. Firstly, and currently the main priority, is to improve UI rendering. And secondly, it will allow live rendering video. Where did Meyer go? Meyer!
Oh my god.
It's okay. We'll put up Doppelmayr up real quick.
Europe has been engulfed. It's gone.
It's gone.
The whole continent is just, it's gone.
Hold on. Nope, wrong one. There you go. Meyer back. Doppelmayer's back. So let's continue on. Live rendering of video, rendering of video communications for both Squadron 42 and the PU. So it is live picture-in-picture. So render to texture is literally the picture-to-picture. They just said it.
I understand that. I understand that, but nothing in what you just said, like, actually deliberately said that it was.
It's to improve UI rendering. Secondly, it will allow live rendering of video communications for both Squadron 42 and the PU, which means that, for instance, if you saw that clip last week of Mark Hamill when he was doing his the blah 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 blah. You ever get punched in the throat?
You ever get punched in the throat?
Yeah, that is actually. If you looked at the character, if you were right next to his Gladius and you were looking over in his cockpit, you would see him doing the same motions and everything.
I understand.
And that video of his recording there is going to be played on your MFD, and the same thing will happen with all the other characters. So,
can I highlight a later part of that quote?
Sure.
And finally, for video comms, most games pre-render all cutscenes or video communications and store them on the hard drive. But as we want so many for Squadron 42 and the ability to have so many more for the PU, this isn't really feasible. The time spent to render these out is horrendous and therefore costly, as well as the hard drive space high-quality videos require. This new system renders the video communications in real time to a texture, which can then be used on a screen during the main render of the scene.
The keyword is real time.
So the quality is near pixel perfect, and the hard drive space is nothing.
Yeah. So like that was the keyword that they weren't putting anywhere.
Yeah, because
it's live.
CryEngine and Lumberyard natively have the ability to play flash video in the. We've known that for a long time. This is not flash video.
Both engines completely lacked render to texture before they decided they were going to add it to the engine. So, and I understand why they were.
Most engines really render the texture. Like no one can really do that well. It's
there are other engines that can at least do it. CryEngine had no ability to do it. They had to put it in, which is.
If you actually do a picture in like most engines, it's super shitty. It's like really not. If you've ever played any amount of Arma 3 and you've done first person with the vehicles, you've seen the picture-in-picture, it is disastrous. And half of it is kind of cheaty. Like if you actually go into like editors and stuff, it's like they're literally putting another character model that's invisible on the back of the car, making him invincible, and then that view is like being put onto the monitor.
Surely that's more limitations of the real virtuality engine than it is like when you're comparing it to this CryEngine.
Yeah, I know. It's because they've done all the legwork to actually make it not shit.
The other kind of caveat here that needs to be mentioned. One of the issues with render to texture is you essentially have to create a second rendering pipeline within the engine. So it can be very, very costly. And they're saying that they are creating a second rendering pipeline, but they're basically stripping it down hugely so that it doesn't slow the whole game down. So it will look. They're trying to make it look good, but it won't look as good as you looking at the character across the room, for example.
But
which
that should be the case anyways.
which they'll probably cover up a bit with like normal video communication noise or whatever.
And to be fair, like if if you were have someone in communication, like in a small little MDF screen, like that far in like the bottom right hand corner of your screen, what would it on your actual monitor? That's good. That's like a 240 video.
Yeah.
That's like it's not huge resolution. So like they can drop some polygons here and there. It's not a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The other thing is that this actually sounds like it's not going to be a very expensive thing in terms of like resources. It's actually much less resource intensive than say what they were planning on doing. It's, according to this quote, my guess is it's just a pain in the ass to develop it. Like to actually create the technology is a pain in the ass, which is why it's taking them longer. But it sounds like also. This is also the thing that allows us to have scalable UI with FPS sliders. So FOV sliders. So
FOV sliders, yeah.
So it's cool. I didn't realize that it was essentially doing both the picture-in-picture and a scalable UI in the same process, the same technology, a lot of the same stuff, which is nice.
One of the reasons I think that they decided to add it to the engine is that the actual ways they could use render to texture, if they can get it to run well, are enormous. Like just some quick examples. We already know they're using it for UI, which the FOV slider is part of, but also creating those 3D holographic UIs that they were talking about, but also video communications. And then the one that I'm excited about is they can actually create real-time accurate reflections by basically showing the reflection as a video of you sort of flipped around, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was going to say, correct me if I was wrong, but obviously you just put it up, that they were going to get rid of the whole cube map thing that CryEngine uses for reflections and that kind of deal.
Which is already actually kind of fantastic, by the way. Like, if you actually look in the actual reflections in, like, the current builds, they're actually fantastic. But, once again, if you actually go look at that, it's just reflecting geometry. Because if you actually go and, like, you have another person, you walk up to their helmet, you see, like, all-star in the background, you won't be there.
Yeah.
It will see everything except for, like, it can't do it live.
Ships,
So it can't see you or ships or players or explosions or weapons fire.
Thing,
It's just rendering the geometry.
Yeah.
That's it.
I expect that this was probably a big decision because they probably went, holy crap, this is going to take a really long time. But then they went, well, but we can use it in these 77 different ways if we actually put it in.
I would love for this to be like amazing because like when you get that effect, like I remember when we were all watching the Gamescom stream like almost a year ago at this point, and like what's that guy's name? The mission giver, Miles
Eckhart.
Eckhart. And like he like pops up on the screen, and then like the landing request guy pops up like on the little freelancer monitor.
Oh yeah.
And everyone kind of like, oh my god, it's crazy because it has this really crazy illusion. Almost similar if you've ever played the Nintendo Switch, it's like this shouldn't be happening. It's like it's like this. If you've ever like gone and play like Breath of the Wild on Switch, like this is wrong. This is like a portal to another dimension. This is not possible. And you almost get that kind of effect when watching that demo. And if they can pull that directly, I will have a absolute shit fit because that'll be incredible. I have my doubts because I've seen literally every other like engine in the game industry not be able to do that. But I mean, hey, these guys are making like the most pretty plants in the universe.
Real virtuality engine does it.
Horribly.
No, it's just so the difference between say like Arma and
2P. It's 2 pixels.
The difference between Bohemia and CIG is that they both are looking to do new technology. Bohemia makes its money off of selling the technology to the government. CIG makes its money off of selling technology to
not
people.
necessarily. There's actually two companies. The consumer company and the other company they used to be sister companies. They are no longer, and there's actually no connection there anymore.
Oh, okay,
they're separate.
Because there was Bohemia Interactive and then there's Bohemia Studios or something like that. And they're
they're actually completely separated now, and they don't actually have any link whatsoever. VBS, Virtual Battle Space, is the product that they actually use for military training.
Yeah, that was the one that where Arma came from. It was originally from
yes. They use forks of the same engine. There's a whole bunch of features in VBS that like you can't that aren't in the main Armor branch. Like you can dig and like build crazy labyrinthian tunnels and shit.
Mhm.
And like in the editor, you can actually go like mess with geometry and shit live. It's crazy, but it's too
Intensive for
crazy for our eyes.
yeah, but and that's the thing is that I think that's the major difference is that at the end of the day, that technology was designed mostly for the military and then ported over to a civilian branch. Whereas with CIG, what they're trying to do is not just make something they're not just trying to make something that'll make them money. They're trying to make something that looks fucking amazing and then release it to people. Like CIG has been from the beginning trying to make new technologies happen. And from what it looks like, it's working. Like that whole concept you just said. Oh, if the air traffic controller guy comes up and says, "Hey, here we're cleared to land," all the time, that's going to happen. It's already like they already talked about. Air traffic control is actually going to be added into 3.0. It's one of the things that they manage. There's an air traffic controller will manage which pad you go to and all that kind of stuff. B, we know that render to texture is already in the game. We saw definitely. It may not be perfect, but it's already working in game. Because not only does it work for live video, but it also works for the UI scaling. And C, all three of these things have not only been showed off, but they are been showed off pretty recently in terms of complete state or almost complete state. So yeah, it's already happening. Shit yourself, Dovak. Shit your pants.
No, but yeah, what Broadbase was saying is like, wasn't picture-in-picture in Arma 3 massively low resolution?
Yes.
Yeah, it's dog shit. But the point is, it works.
Yeah,
it works. It's just not very well. And the hope is that CIG has got to work without those issues. And if that's true, then hell yeah.
So the completion date for render to texture in the schedule is June 15th.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll see once 3.0 comes out how well it works.
So
But I'm excited for it.
that'll be interesting for PTU testers because doesn't that go like deep into the PTU cycles?
well,
Yeah, it does.
I mean that's the reason.
Be interesting.
Let's be honest.
Although I think they're going to push back the
PTU.
PTU.
You get to crash
somewhere.
twice because it's rendering multiple things. Everything crash.
The first crashes the game. The second crashes your computer, and it won't turn on again.
Yes.
No, you're walking by a monitor, and the monitor in Star Citizen crashes because it can't render that.
Oh god, you get a blue screen of death on your monitor in Star Citizen. So your ship has the
shit,
fucking
man,
blue
but-
screen. You're like, fuck.
Can I nerd out about something that I saw in ATV though?
Sure, go for it.
The real-time lit volumetric fog that they were showing.
Which is done.
Holy crap! It's almost done.
It's done on Monday. Like it was supposed to be done today or yesterday, but apparently it's going to be done on Monday. Kind of like
yeah, it's been pushed. It's been pushed back to next week. But it's holy god, is that ever look good? I think that's going to make like some atmospheric scenarios in the game just amazing.
Hey,
Can you imagine trying to explore a derelict, pull up your Moby glass, and not be able to see it in front of you? I would be a little bit terrified.
Vandals need fins, so like when they're in the ship and you're above them, like you can see like their fins.
I'm gonna pause for podcast identification because we did have a large number of people who just came in. Welcome. Yep. This is the Captain's Table. It's a weekly Star Citizen podcast where I take people from around the community. We have Nighthawk, Nakara, Meyer, and Papa Dolvac. All of them do Nighthawk is a streamer who also does a lot of work with the base and does a lot of other podcasts as well. He also does the Traverse the Verse.
Traverse the Verse
board game. Nakara is part of Relay. Does a lot of the work with Relay. He's one of the guys who posts all the transcripts and all the editorials you'll see on the subreddit and other places. Meyer's a partnered live streamer with Twitch. Streams a lot of Star Citizen, part of Test Gaming. And Papa Dolvac works for both Relay and is also a streamer. He's a terrible person. You should never listen to him. He also used to be the moderator. He used to be a moderator on the Star Citizen subreddit.
Oh, before those dastardly people kicked me out. It didn't happen. Oh, I shouldn't say this. Oh, no.
Making more stuff. Yeah. So, we do this every week. Thank you again, Board, for that host. And Board is always whenever I can get Board on, I try to get him on, but it's always super late for the UK when we do this. So it's usually it's not too bad because it's like what 11 there, Meyer, like almost 11.
Yeah, it's half past 11.
Yeah.
Wait, no,
He's
half
just
past.
asleep in his chair right now. I
Yeah,
can't even
I
answer
was
correctly.
So it's not horrible, but it gets pretty late especially if we go to that 3-hour stuff. So
It's terrible. So, can we stop now? Is
Yeah.
it time?
it's time. Go bed. So with that, let's move on. Continue. You wanted to nerd out. Oh, you already nerd out.
Yeah.
Go.
So yeah, no, the volumetric fog thing is just freaking crazy. I mean, because if you
that's not CIG, correct? That's actually like a lumberyard.
That's lumberyard.
feature.
yeah,
Lumberyard
they're
item,
they're importing a lumberyard
Yeah.
feature. Yeah, but still, like, if you actually understand how they're doing it, like each individual particle of fog, so I guess each individual particle of water, exists physically in the game, so that the light bounces off of it properly. It's just amazing.
And
It
if
really
you
I got to
stop
upgrade
and
my
think,
GPU again.
the particle system they showed that they're developing for the massive scale items like nebulae, they're also going to be using a similar technology for things like sandstorms, and the new tech that they're building for things like lightning bolts, electricity. You blend all that stuff together into one smooth experience.
Mhm.
That's going to be so good looking.
And then the cloth physics does this and like clips
Oh,
into
yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
And imagine if it actually starts messing with your equipment. Like, you can't keep your weapons clean.
I
They
was-
start to misfire. It starts to mess with your radar. You can't necessarily get a clean scan. So
I
good.
can't wait until that rock comes hurling at my from the sandstorm comes hurling at my suit and breaches my freaking spacesuit, because there's spacesuit breaches now.
And you forgot to bring one of those bike tire patches.
Yeah, so I can literally
Duct tape.
I can literally relive my my Martian fantasies of getting in an airlock that explodes and then having a face crack that I have to like fix with duct tape, and then like
No, man, not that. Did not see like the glove breach like a couple weeks ago? So you can do like the whole Iron Man thing.
yeah, the Iron Man
yeah.
flying around.
Yeah.
Wait, are potatoes and feces confirmed?
Yes.
Or,
Yes.
oh, okay.
I think,
Potatoes are in fact one of the ways
I
that you
think
can
one of
get
the
nutrients
core
to a
items
citizen.
for Star Citizen should be duct tape, and it should be on every player's belt.
It really should. I mean, it is literally one of those things that is taken up. It's been taken up into every single space mission since the beginning of humans going to space. Both
All the med pens.
Both-
Gotta make it work.
both Russia and the United States and all other spacefaring nations have had cloth tape on their with their astronauts in every single space mission. I think actually at one point it was actually when they actually had it on the U-2 when I can't remember the pilot who got shot down over Russia and got captured. They put on display a bunch of other things, and they had like cloth tape, their duct tape there, and they registered as like some super secret CIA device at the time as well. That's the best part. But
Now
no,
we know what the backpack is for.
Um,
All the
in,
time.
in relation to I mean, besides the volumetric fog that they showed, they did actually show some work on what looked like a storm. The audio at the time suggested it was in space, but it kind of looks like a thunderstorm from the ground. But I have a Giphy that I'm going to stick into. Oh, I'm not allowed to post messages. That's not good.
there we go.
I was going to post it.
Now you can post stuff. You're on the relay stuff, so I can give relay power.
Awesome.
Strangely.
Oh, I'm still banned for 50 more seconds. All right.
So my internet cut out for a little bit. So are we just nerding out about different things from the monthly report?
Yes, basically,
Uh,
monthly report and the ATVs what we've been talking about.
Okay. Have you guys already talked about the reclaimer grinder?
We haven't.
Oh
You
my
haven't.
God.
You
Meyer,
have
throw
you
me
have
into
the
it.
you have the
You
floor,
can't stop
Meyer.
this.
Yes,
Right.
go, Meyer.
This is your face,
Because,
Meyer. You're
man,
going in
I
there.
don't have a reclaimer, and I don't think this is the proper use for a reclaimer. But if I was to have one, I would use that grinder room, and I'm gonna post a picture of it on the a gif of it on the chat there. But if I was to use it, I would use it the same way in Game of Thrones. They had those sky cells, and I'd use it as a prison. And if you fell asleep and you floated towards the grinder, it's my brig.
It's your brain.
It's
my
worse
brain.
because it's constantly like there's like the air, just like constantly like
Yeah.
air
Well,
trickling through it.
I can
So
already
you
see.
slowly get sucked in.
I can see the future YouTubes. Will it grind?
grind.
Yeah, they just take random things like let's take Port Olisar and see if we can grind it.
You know, the
Yeah,
first thing
I
I thought when I saw that room was perfect interrogation chamber.
It's almost an evil lair. Like you get some
It is.
woman, like some poor lady like hanging, swinging by the rope. You pretty much have like a secret lair.
Yeah.
And a lava waterfall.
Yeah,
I
I've been
One thing
expecting
missing.
you, Mr. Roberts.
there's
So
just a T-posing woman in a pantsuit, just like swinging from a rope. That's it.
so what were you linking there, Nakara?
Oh, I just learned what it is. Thank you to Solam Yas. It's the coil from the Odin system, which is apparently the remnants of Odin. Yeah, that's so cool. Take a look at that Giphy cat that I put up there. Yeah, and yeah, it's just amazing. And that takes into effect a lot of those volumetric technologies that they've been working on for nebulas and clouds and fog and it actually has lightning in there as well. So
That
you got all of
looks
it.
like a stellar hurt.
Yeah. It's going to be, I don't know. I absolutely cannot wait to see what all of this crap is going to look like in the game at the end.
Yeah, it says coil on there, so I'm assuming it's a.
Yeah.
It's the I don't know what the coil is though. From the Odin system, you'll have to describe that. This is the one piece of lore I don't know.
Remnants of Odin, as in the actual god Odin, or what?
The
The,
Odin one.
there's an Odin system, the first planet in the Odin system.
Okay. Right. So that's the remnants of that planet then, or what?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think so.
So, this is what it says. Odin 1 is known as the Coil. The Odin 1 cluster, commonly called the Coil, is possibly the most interesting area of the system. The Coil, thought to be the remnants of the system's pre-catastrophe first planet, is seemingly an unending cloud of planetary fragments, electromagnetic energy surges, and minerals.
It's also where the space whales live.
Yeah.
And apparently
So
there's
space whale play.
apparently there's also a moon that orbits nearby, and there's actually a settlement there.
Can you imagine what the view from that settlement will look like?
Absolutely
we
incredible.
we won't have to imagine. We can see it. We will be able to see it because we'll be able to go to that settlement and land and look up and see the coil. Just saying.
Also, it should be noted that the rumor is, now take this for what it is, and I'm not sure, I don't think it's ever been officially confirmed. The rumor is that Odin is the system where Squadron 42 Episode 1 takes place.
Yeah, because they said it's going to take place in
yeah.
one system. I imagine it's going to take place in a couple different systems, not just one. But because the original one, it was Vega, and then they changed it to another system. And then they had some major hints about a lost squadron in some system that may have been Odin. But
Well, I thought the stuff was because like when they released the Gary Oldman talk, like the whole Vega thing. It's like the Vega tech happened, and it's like the Vega system, which is weird because it's actually like touching Terra, by the way.
yeah,
like,
it's
Vega is, like, regularly, like,
there's a one jump away from Terra. Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. So like Vega had been wiped out by a Vendel fleet, and then like that seems like very like starting cutscene to be like, hey, we gotta deploy Squadron 42. And then maybe like you go to Vega, you see like you have like the opening sequence, and then like, oh, we gotta go to Odin and stop this whole thing from happening again. And that's what the actual game takes place. Like that's reasonable, I guess.
Could it also be possible that we might potentially see something like Squadron 42, the secret missions?
Probably. I mean,
Well,
like
very possible. I mean,
they want to do it every 2 years. So if they have a bunch of missions that are left over that are on the cutting room floor, they could easily put them out as like a small pack that adds on to Squadron 42 in the year between.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
we'll see. I'm sure there will be stuff that gets cut just because it's like this mission was fucking retarded or this mission isn't complete.
I don't know what we were thinking about
Tell
here.
us how you really feel.
Are you kidding me? How many?
Riding a space whale.
How many?
Weird. I don't know.
How many there's plenty of missions in the original Wing Commander series. I'm just like, this was stupid. This is a dumb mission. This is like I killed 4 people and I went home. It took me 10 minutes. Fuck you, game. This is not hard. And then there were some missions that I wanted to like throw my fucking headphones at the screen and like punch babies for because it's like, why would you make this mission so hard?
I'm sorry, they're gonna have to cut the Von Duel romance scene. It's gonna be. They'll make it work later. Don't worry about it.
Alrighty. So yeah, no, the rest of it was just mostly just talking about what you guys have been seeing this week, and what would you like. The monthly report was fairly similar to like what we already got.
The
ATVs.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Yeah.
I will say one thing that I didn't catch in the ATVs that I saw with the Frankfurt is that they've got a fuck ton of FPS weapons they've made. 2 Vandal FPS weapons, 4 Caustic Arms weapons, 2 from a new two other weapons, and 1 from a new manufacturer. That's fucking what, like 13 weapons there almost.
It's like twice the amount that we have currently.
Yeah.
And the Klaus and Werner LMG that shoots lasers.
Yeah, that was in the recent ATV. That was This is from Foundry 40. This is Foundry 42 Frankfurt, like the separate studios. So I think the LMG is being made by Manchester. So then we've also have that. Plus we also have the railgun, which is being worked on, which is almost done.
Pistol? Do you see the that handgun?
Yeah, that hand.
Like
that
handgun's really cool.
It looks like this. It looks like the zip gun, the old one of the first gun that was designed to be fired in space, the one that like fires rocket propelled bullets, almost. So
it's probably ballistic, right? It's cast iron arm.
It looks ballistic. Yeah.
So, there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of slipped into that monthly report that I didn't catch before.
Thank you, Tired One. I knew I'd read it somewhere. Yeah, it is the Odin system. From the monthly report in November, it looks like. Also, I have to mention, because you just reminded me of this, how amazing, when they were showing off the interaction system, the guy like pulls his gun in front of him and starts taking the parts off and putting other parts on, and I'm like, oh my god.
It reminded me of Crisis. It really, it looked Crisis-esque for like weapon mod stuff, where you like pull your gun up and just start flipping shit off of it. It's good.
Yeah.
I like the placement system. Honestly, I've seen a lot of people are like, it looks weird because you suddenly teleport the stuff where it's going. I'm like, it's a game though. It's like, do you want me to sit there and animate? You want them to animate every place? So like, animate me dropping the mic style where I take the crate out and just drop it and just flip you off afterwards? Because I think that's a little bit too much animation. It's just like putting the crate, saying, hey, this crate's going to go here, and then just being like, click, and it shows up there. It's like, hey, cool, you get the idea. Your brain will make the connections anyways that you put it there.
But you see, so they've mentioned job-wise, you can be a trader, a bounty hunter, you can do all those kind of things. But in this past week, they've kind of showed you all the bits and pieces necessary for one job, which I don't think any of you would be able to guess. I'm gonna ask you guys to guess what job I'm thinking of, real quick.
Salvage?
No.
Chef.
Oh, bartender?
Close.
Because they did have the pouring there.
Yes, you're very close. I'll spare you the suspense. But being an air flight hostess on a Starliner, they showed you every single thing that you would need for that. Being able to carry a tray, pour drinks onto a tray, hold a drink and pour stuff onto something that's not in your hand and in your hand, as well as being able to toggle switches as well to different things.
You're way too excited about this right now.
I am because
you're
it's
English, so like the butler is in your it's still in you. You're like, I got mansion, and we gotta start serving shit.
Listen. Meyer said air flight hostess. All I could hear was all I could see was Meyer in a dress, a cocktail dress, serving drinks to people. All right, that's all.
Damn,
now,
Skippy.
Now I want to see this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like every single thing that they've mentioned in that little thing with the Starliner is there. Being able to serve people with a tray and whatever, and also being able to manipulate an interface in order to like fix the entertainment system when it breaks and stuff like that. That's all there, like in the most barest of bones terms, like that we saw in this ATV. Like it's there, it's coming. It's not a lie. It's not a joke. It wasn't April Fool's too early or too late. And
that's very true.
It's just interesting.
And that also can carry over into a few others sort of professions or crew positions. Start looking at it from the perspective of an engineer. The fact that you can go into various rooms and you can start pulling components and you can start taking them apart and modifying them, repairing them, or even replacing them, and then suddenly you've got things to do on a ship.
Nighthawk, that's one of the things that's crazy about this. I don't think a lot of people realize or really think about it very often. The components in the ships actually have components inside them that they're made up of. They're not just like promising you they're there. You can take it apart and fix it and put it back together again. And that's what's going to make the engineering and repair side so awesome in this game.
And you can really start to see the methodology behind the process they're using in terms of setting up the foundation for future play. Caterpillar is a perfect example. You can go into every single module, and every single module has a place for all of its components, and the engineer knows where they need to go, the bosun knows where they need to go, the cargo handlers know where they need to go, the engineer everyone has their place. Everything has its place. And with the interaction system, with all these new technologies that they're dropping on us in 3.0, suddenly it's not just who gets to the pilot seat first. Okay, now who wants to fight over the more often than not broken turrets, because nothing else really works. Now we have things to do. Now we can start saying who wants to be the engineer, who wants to be the freaking security officer, who wants to be the gunner. And you could go off and you can have a real crew finally.
I mean, yeah, so go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of racing to the cockpit, to who's first, what about the people who aren't part of your group? What do you guys think of the 4-digit passcode that we saw to enter like a door or something? Do you think that's too rudimentary, or is it just like a proof of concept, or what exactly?
I think it needs to scale more. I think the one thing about the 4-digit passcode is that you could have it scaled where you have backups of backups. So you get the first one, but you have 4 different codes that you have to enter if you're not. And because it's a game, you can just the game can automatically register you as being like, oh, you're the owner. Who gives a shit? But the person who's like trying to break into your shit has to go through 5 different passcodes in order to they have to know your first, second, third, and fourth favorite date in the history of UE to be able to get into your shit. You know.
But it's so low tech, isn't it?
Well, I would also hope that these sort of technologies are going to be similar to the other things we have, like avionics suites, like shield generators, like power plants. Those things, yeah, you get factory stock components, but then you can go and pick up aftermarket items, or you can modify the factory items to perform outside of those factory stats. So you can potentially take an alternative security system and lock it into the same location, and then instead of doing a 4 or a 5-digit passcode, suddenly you're having to go through 5 different steps where one of them might be a 4-digit passcode, but then the next one is you got to do the figure 8 or whatever it is with the different points, and then another one is you got to connect the dots using the lines and they go this way. And there's a way for them to really diversify how you go into that. And I hope that they take that opportunity, because they're already doing it with so many other components.
Meyer, you asked if I thought it was a proof of concept. I think that's exactly what it is. They're like, look, we can lock stuff now. I think that there's a long way to go there. In terms of, I think that'll be fine for some things, but
yeah.
And they haven't even touched on the physical aspects of how you can go about hacking, because sometimes if it's a cheap enough system, really, what is to stop you from popping the panel opening and just crossing the wires, or some other such method of a physical hack versus the digital?
Well, you mentioned that actually, and like in one of the little like inner thought system things that they were showing, like there was a drawer, and there was a guy next to the drawer on the other side, and you could open it, but one of the options was to force open and break open.
Bash it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was it was really nice to see that. So I'm hoping that affords us the opportunity to start playing some of that sabotage style gameplay that a lot of people think belongs with hacking, but really is kind of its own thing entirely. You know, any pilot, any trader, it doesn't matter what your profession is. If you know how to manipulate these physical items, you can be a saboteur.
And like, did you see like forget like saboteur. I'm talking about like pure brute strength. Like, forget guns. Do you see like how well that guy took that guy down with just a pistol? I need a big stick. Apparently, like if we're thinking if that's accurate, like if I get a baseball bat, I will launch someone into orbit. So, this is gonna be some Fallout 4 shit, where we just like super mutants are flying around and limbs are going everywhere. I'm into it.
To be fair, I would like to see a difference in strength. Where like if I come up to someone and I punch them in a light armor, it's like, oh, you hurt me. Oh my god, my face. You broke my nose. Whereas I come up to them in like a medium or like a heavy armor, I punch them and like their face gets caved in and they crumple to the ground or they go flying across the room. The exosuits, you should literally be able to throw people into orbit in low moons, in small moons. Just like,
yeah. There has to be a scale up. I don't know that they would do that with something like light armor and medium armor. You'd probably get the same effect from both of those.
No, but I mean like the heavy armor looks like freaking Master Chief's.
Heavy armor has armature built into it.
Yeah.
You see it. It's completely exposed. So you have that physical support. You do have extra strength because the suit is supporting you. That's why you can carry things like the railgun with the heavy armor. But it'll be really interesting to see how they implement that into melee because players are going to do that. They're going to do that. And you have to stop and think, what does it mean to hit someone open-handed versus closed fist? What does it mean to hit someone, say, with a bare fist in civilian clothes versus a fist that's been armored because you're in a suit?
I'll tell you. One is
using the
interaction
system.
Fun trading method. The other one is an actual attack. Come on.
But then what's to stop you from just walking up to, say, a workbench, picking up the wrench, and just whack across someone's face with it? That's not meant to be a melee weapon, but you just did it.
It could be.
Nice
I wonder
to
if the heavy
really
armor
nice to
people
see.
will actually be melee resistant. I mean, like you mentioned, that they are like pretty much like fortified when they have like hydraulic supports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And punching somebody like that with civvies on will probably do you damage instead, right?
Yeah,
I would
probably.
hope so. I would hope so.
I just want to see in the universe people going up against heavy armor being like, I'm going to hit you with my weapon. Boom. I'm going to hit you with my weapon again. Boom. Boom. Like just sitting there like as the guy just stands there like, just go for
Rust,
it.
Where
Just
you're
go
gonna have
for
a
it.
whole bunch of naked boys in like a room and then like one guy and they're just 50. It's like 50v1. It's a bunch of naked spacemen wailing on a big armored guy.
Except
And
the
it's
big armor guy.
Spectator sport.
They haven't even started, really, as far as we know, exploring what their micro Gundams are going to be. Like, we don't know what their mech suits provide for this game. So there's a potential for a whole different scale of combat, not just melee, but ballistic and otherwise. There's still a lot to come. So it's really interesting that they're implementing things in a certain and specific manner because you can almost see 2-3 steps down the road the goal that they're trying to hit by doing this one simple thing now.
Now,
Agreed.
there's a lot of people who are talking about the CCUs. I don't particularly care about it, but if you guys want to comment on it, feel free. The CCU change.
I have very mixed feelings about it. I don't think there's a problem with the change in itself, and there definitely were people abusing the system. Let's kind of cut to the chase here. We always say that, like, hey, you buy the ships just to fund the game, and the ships are just a fun little bonus, right? That's what we all say, and there was some truth to that, but that's kind of bullshit, right? It's kind of bullshit. We're in it for the pretty digital spaceships because we all have a fucking problem, right? That's the truth of this.
Yes.
So what it comes down to is, like, I completely understand why they did this. I think it came off really the wrong way, and it was perfectly ill-timed, I think, as CIG's announcements always are.
Yeah, definitely.
They have a bad habit of making small, minor changes that don't really mean anything come off completely the wrong way to the community. And I think there's more of a problem with that than the actual change itself. I don't really give a shit, honestly. I've CCU'd something like once in my life.
Yeah.
I've done it a couple times, but it's mostly just
I have like $1 million $0 CCUs in my just case. I've never used them.
I don't use $0 CCUs. The only things I use my CCUs for is to upgrade like ships to another ship. So it doesn't really matter. And I'm done.
That right there, Dolvac, that right there is why that happened. Actually, was they said they had 1.1 million unused CCUs sitting in their database.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to clear it out. You know, they're trying to clear them out. which makes sense. Like I've got a bunch of stuff too, but I have no idea to clear it out. What do? Contact customer support, be like, can you get rid of my 4 different Super Hornet to Gladiator $0 CCUs, which don't matter anymore because I'm never gonna fucking, Gladiator.
And the thing is, like, it's not even. It's not that there's a million in the system because there's like a million people and they're just like, oh, that's like 1 per person. It's not that. It's the fact that 95% of accounts don't have any CCUs and like 5% of them have like 7,000.
Yeah.
Like that's the issue.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, again, I agree with you. It's a timing issue. It really is. I mean, like, it's not that big a deal, I suppose. Personally, I've only CC'd one thing once, and yes, it was free technically. But it's come at a time where, it's right off the back of this whole debacle about, well, not really a debacle, but again, the community can be quite vocal sometimes with the whole, recruiter friend system. And, when you
that came off the back of.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Meyer.
And when you compound all those things together, it gives off the image that CIG is trying to nickel and dime people for like every little last thing. But I don't really feel like that's the case.
In the world where on like a monthly basis they're selling a $300 spaceship, they don't need your fucking $5 CCU.
Yeah, like the stuff that's the tarp that's behind Dovak is going to make them a lot of money because they're going to hype it as some sort of hyper stealth technology, and someone's just going to be like, money. They'll make $1 million in a day.
What is that new GIF from Clifford?
From Clifford, shut up and take my money. Yeah.
Yeah.
but the thing is, like they keep doing this shit, and it like stacks on itself. So like we come off like the fever of like Squadron 42 not making it in 2016, and then that fucking holiday stream, and then
buy ships,
and then Chris Roberts in January is like, hey, like we're gonna have the schedule report out in like tomorrow, and then it was like 3 months later instead, and then hey, that whole 3.0 that's supposed to be out at like Christmas, well, it's gonna be like 7 months late again. Whoops, sorry about that. And then the referral thing. No, and like individually, these things are not
that bad
issues.
Yeah,
but it's just like, what the fuck? Like, it's like it can't go 6 months without being like, fuck, we just
they stack up their mistakes. Their mistakes they stack up on top of each other over the recent ones.
If you went like a year without fucking up, it would all kind of like, and then you fucked up again, it would be like, that's disappointing, but whatever. Instead, it's just like, it's one thing after another, so you get that ill will just kind of like into one big pile.
Yeah, and that's
in itself. It's
if you take it for face value, all it is just a preventative measure to stop people from stockpiling like a bajillion different freaking CCUs they'll never use. Yeah. I mean, that's all it is.
If they wanted to do it right, what they should have done is they should have said it now. They said, hey, it's going to stop 2 weeks after the launch of 3.0.
Yeah.
So 3.0 can come out. You could try your ships with 3.0. If you want to change something else, you totally can, and then we're cutting it off.
Scroober, basically, they're adding a $5 charge to every CCU from now on, a surcharge, basically.
Yes.
Part of the reason, I'm sure, is because of tax reasons, and I'm sure part of the reasons is because they have to actually have someone who is in charge of managing those. Like they have to have support. If your CCU fucks up somehow, or you like, oh fuck, I didn't mean to do that, then you have to contact support, and that they have to hire more support staff, and that's part of the reason probably they're doing it.
There's like a post a week on like the Reddit somewhere. It's just like, yo, I don't know, I'm new. I just bought some shit, and like I don't think I have a package anymore. I don't know what I just did. And it's like, and people are like, all right, don't worry about it. Just talk to support. It'll be like 3 weeks, and they'll fix you out. But that happens like constantly. So there's constant, which is not necessarily their fault because the fucking website is a goddamn nightmare for new people.
At least
I don't fully understand how that shit works. Really,
at least they're replacing the website. Hopefully, it happens eventually. But the other thing that should be noted here that might freak people out a little bit less is that the $5 does get added to the value of your new ship. So if you melt it, you get that $5 as credit
back.
So
yeah.
It's not going into the void.
It's not just
it's not service charge.
And that's what. And it's not like a service charge because that value actually does follow the ship, but you still have to pay it.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes along with the idea that this is just a plain idea. Everything's going to get more expensive from now on. Like, I do not have a
They said that
shadow
from the
of
start.
but I do not have a shadow of a doubt.
It's like almost $270.
$275. Yeah.
Look at this thing.
I have no doubt that $45 a package is going to change in 3.0. 3.0 comes out, it immediately is going to go up from $45. It's not.
Look at that. It's garbage. I don't even know what it looks like. It's garbage. Hate it. I've decided to hate this shit. I don't know.
They're basically just sending a sheet all back. The thing underneath
really.
it's nothing. It's just a little
It's a tarp.
scaffold. They're sending a sheet. Yes.
You know how like people don't like the Vanguard? This is my Vanguard. Fuck this thing. I don't even know what
Dolvac has made a unilateral decision to hate that chip for no reason.
Fuck it. I don't know why.
I like it.
Look at these little dumb little curves right here. Look at that shit. Look at that shit. Fuck that. Who did that shit? Fire him. Bad artist.
God damn. So no, I was saying before Dolvek went on his retarded lizard rant, that I have no doubt that when 3.0 comes out, we're going to see the packages go from $45 to $50 or $45 to $55. They're going to increase the price. When 3.0 comes out, it'll increase, and by the end of the year, it'll increase. By 2018, it'll be $60.
I get that new 3.0 user rush because there's going to be a billion YouTube videos out, and people are like, I need that. In my
fucking Frankie on PC is going to be like, oh my God, Star Citizen! All the people are going to be back to Star Citizen suddenly for the next 2 weeks while it's in the hype cycle, so they want to get that money while they get a chance to. But they've said that before. Prices are going to increase. It's going to be eventually $60, and Squadron 42 is going to eventually be $60. So that tiering, we're already starting to see them tier up all the expenses for ships. It's going to start happening with everything else. So,
well, and you can. I gotta tell you, if there's anybody here, I wouldn't be shocked if there's anybody watching this who isn't already a backer. But right now you're still at the point where both games are $60 combined, including a ship. That's not going to last forever.
They said that's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Dome, I'm just going to let you know right now. He says maybe the original 3.0, but maybe prices released more on 3.3. Doesn't matter. It's 3.0. Like, the Star Citizen's marketing hasn't changed about 3.0, so I can almost guarantee you it's going to stay the same. Like, it didn't matter if it was the original version of 3.0. They're still going to increase the price because it's 3.0, and they hype 3.0. It's just how CIG works, But yeah, no. Right now we've got questions. So if you guys have any want to answer any questions, exclamation point, or ask any questions, exclamation point questions, exclamation point question mark, exclamation point questions. You can ask them to the individual members of the cast. You can ask them to the whole cast. You can ask us official CIG questions. We can't answer them though. Nekahara and Dolvac have been quoted as being official CIG developers before, so they can give you that, even though they're not.
We can try.
And you can ask any question you want, but if it's a dumb question, I reserve the right to answer it in the most dumb way possible. I'll let Dolvac give you his rants and in theories on lizard men who live in the center of the earth and control all our minds. He can give you those kind of answers. So
someone just.
I've got a quick question for
I've
us.
been using my webcam mic this entire time instead of my very expensive microphone right in front of me. So hopefully I sound different now.
a little bit.
Not at all.
Fuck me, right?
Jake, you are best
the
at dumb
microphone.
questions, but you were on last week, so we got to give him the Dolvac.
I've got a really quick question before we start, though.
Go for it.
Like, how much when the Saber got released a couple years ago? How much did that go out for?
175? It's like 180.
No, it was not. It's not $75.
No, 175.
Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. I know it was between 200 and 150.
Right. I only asked
It was
because
Super Hornet.
the thing under the stupid tarp is gonna be $275. So I was just.
It's just two
wondering.
sabers stacked. It's like
Yeah.
Did you actually see? Someone put it out over Twitter. They put out an image. It was like a mashup of a bunch of different Aegis ships to make the shape of the
It
Eclipse.
looked amazing.
Got it. Yeah, it was.
I just looked it up. The Saber was $170.
Yeah, I knew it was
Right,
about that.
so-
It was comparable to the Super Hornet at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is gotta be some special ship then, right? I mean, like for it to be so.
It's
relatively
much
small.
larger.
Yeah.
You can tell
Okay.
it's much larger.
This is getting into conspiracy theory here, but someone was saying like how like they're talking about like space superiority and like the whole like secret UE thing. Someone was saying like, hey, this is basically going to be like an F8 Lightning without being an F8 Lightning, so they can
It
get
better
away with
not
selling
be,
it.
otherwise like
No, like this is like this is gonna be like totally not F8 Lightning, guys. Nudge.
I actually don't
Right.
think so because this looks a lot like a bomber to me from what we've seen, and
Bomber?
the yeah,
Think so,
absolutely.
bomber.
like a
Look
B.
at that.
It looks
Yeah.
very. It's got a silhouette of a B2 kind kind of.
It
bomber.
totally looks like
Does
the
have,
stealth
like, a flying-
bomber.
It looks like a
Totally looks like the stealth
Vanguard
bomber.
fucked an Avenger, dude. Look at that.
It does. You know what? And if a Vanguard fucked an Avenger, it would be fat and ugly, which is why it would end up being a bomber.
I want you to make that graphic.
Hey, like we could make it happen in game right now. Yeah, make this happen. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I think it's gonna be a bomber, and it's big, so it's definitely not an F8 Lightning, which is a small fighter.
How many actual bombers do we have right now? Just
Retaliator and
Retaliator?
Gladiator.
Mm.
2.
Dedicated. But
yeah.
that's if you're not counting
The Harbinger, which counts as a bomber. You also have the Mist,
And
which
you
is
can
also
kind of outfit. You can kind of outfit whatever you want, but
it's a
Yeah.
bomber. But those are dedicated bombers.
dedicated. Yeah, yeah.
Gladiator and
Yeah.
Retaliator.
Yeah, I think I was reminded the destructive power of those freaking missiles that the Retaliator had this week when I saw like Richard destroy a freaking Starfarer with one missile. Like, it's disgusting. Like, if one of these things
Yeah.
are fast and carry one or two strapped to it, then that's scary.
I just want a
That's pretty
suicide
scary.
bomber. I just want a missile with like a cockpit. He's go into people.
You want to like
just
one of
embrace,
those
just embrace pad ramming. It's the idea.
one
Just
of those,
embrace it.
Yeah.
Support it as
Japanese
an active.
Titan
You can do it.
missiles.
Alrighty. So, first question of the day from Human Evil. What, with the size increase to the Reclaimer, do you think we'll get a smaller versions of the spider bots that have room to hold scrap so we can eat more than the Connie's worth of scrap at a time?
I think that's what we're missing. We're missing that thing. But also, like, you have to remember that, unlike other careers, there are physical limitations to salvage. If you actually go look at the Reclaimer, it's actually not super gigantic because 90% of that goddamn ship is actually like this big scrap
Grind.
pod of trash on the back. It's like if you look at a garbage truck, like you couldn't make like, hey, let's make a real world garbage truck that's the size of a minivan. That'd be horribly inefficient. So at some point, it's just like, sure, you can go salvage an M50, but like anything else, you're gonna be shit out of luck.
I still think you're going to see a smaller
Oh yeah, I would
salvage
agree.
ship than that because it's in.
Medium.
I mean,
you get a medium
it's
one.
pretty big. I mean, you could basically eat almost any ship with that thing.
I could see something
Um,
like a Connie, but with like a big bulb on the end for
Yeah.
like container, like something
Yeah.
that size. But as far as like straight internal of the ship, it's like Connie or Retaliator size. I could see that. But like you're not gonna get. I don't think you're gonna get like a single seater salvage ship.
No.
No,
I mean,
no,
yeah.
no, nothing that small.
We still don't know what those crab spiders are. Like someone mentioned the crab spiders. Those are fucking around in the first summer.
We haven't heard about them since like 2013. Like straight
Yeah,
up, we haven't heard about them for
Um,
6 years.
Someone,
Those
Always
giant
utilitarian.
mining striders. That,
Mining,
that,
yeah.
That,
Oh
that-
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
someone-
Those are
Yeah,
just
they
mining
did,
ships,
like,
though, right?
bulbs on the back, and like they showed that they were usable and they're supposed to be usable. And apparently, at one point, they even had a quantum drive, which is just
Yeah.
fucking weird.
Well,
I don't want quantum spiders. Don't do it, CIG.
Quantum
Play
spiders.
your fucking game if you bad big quantum spiders. I don't want it.
Someone asked Aaron Roberts about it last year, and he said, "Oh yeah, we still have them in the game." And I was like, "Well, that's good, I guess." But,
yeah.
as far as I know, they're still around.
Can you imagine being part of a fleet and having those spiders jump link and they're
Oh,
right behind you the whole time you're jumping?
Freaking
So you're
freaking
so-
Mass
no, thank
Effect, Mass Effect with the Reapers. That's what they look like.
Yeah.
It looked like a Reapers jumping in. Like, what the fuck? What game am I in? You know?
Do we even know,
Fuck you,
like,
Sovereign.
who even was there even like a manufacturer attached to those things?
Yeah,
Or, like-
it's
not-
they were made by the by Shubin.
Spider Corp. Oh,
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Shipping.
They were shipping.
okay. They're kind of its own thing.
Yeah, we'll see. Next question comes from Brisbane's. What do you think of the melee takedowns in ATV? Any concern that one button kill game with DOASM mechanics? How do you think it will be balanced? Don't get caught unawares. Yeah, and armor. Well, we talked about that a little bit. Like, if you have a knife, if you've got a knife, you could probably stab at the weak points of the armor, and it would either take you down in one hit. Because the other thing is, there's more than just death. There's also knockouts. Like, you can knock people down. That's one of the things they're working on. Is the idea that you can knock people down with a concussive.
We need to have a conversation here. I'm sorry to interrupt here, but are you guys team knife or team bat? So, like, you have 1v1, like real life. You can either have a knife or if you get a knife, the other guy gets a bat. Or if you get the bat, the other guy gets a knife. You have to fucking fight to the death. I'm personally I'm team knife.
Knife, yeah.
I feel like you sacrifice like the arm to the bat swing, right? You just sacrifice, and then you just get in there. Once you're in there, you're done. Right?
This is literally, Dobek, you're literally talking about historical concepts of combat for a long time. It's the same concept of sword versus axe or mace versus...
Knife versus Batman.
It's the same thing.
It's hashtag team knife, okay?
The real question is are we going to get space bats? That's the real question. Can I be real
question.
Can I be space Negan? Can I be space Negan?
I want a light bat.
I mean, we already know.
Extra.
Hold on, we already know that there are going to be batons in the game because do you guys remember those advocacy packs they were selling for what was it, $5-10 a while back? It came with a pair of handcuffs and a baton.
Yeah, but the baton is like a collapsible rod. Collapsible. I want something that I could put space barbed wire on and then beat people to death with on Grimhex to show my.
And that's what I was going back to in the conversation earlier. Think of the interaction system. You can grab just about anything you want off to the side. So you just grab the pipe, you grab the wrench, whack.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean anything could be. Yeah. But as we said before, I think the big tier will be armor. Like, I don't think you'll be able to do a one hit kill with a knife in a sneaking up on someone who's in a freaking heavy armor. Like, no, good luck getting through that.
Not gonna happen.
You're in a dark alley. You're sneaking up behind your prey. You look on the ground. There's a lead pipe, and you go into the interaction system and you try to click it. Before you know it, you're pouring him a drink. It's oh god.
The amount of times I've emoted instead of throwing a grenade in Star Marine, then fuck that. That's what's gonna happen.
I have gasoline. What's gasoline? I don't know. Where'd this splatter come from? There's gonna be a lot of that, I think.
Honestly, out of civilian clothing, flight suits, racing suits, light armor, I don't really think that knives are going to have much of a significant effect, because everything from medium and up is going to have some sort of reinforcement either to the base mesh of the suit itself, or it's going to have extended padding to cover areas that don't have that reinforcement. So you are going to get to a point, I think, where they're going to start scaling back on it, and it's not so much that you're going to be able to kill, and it's going to be more about playing to disable, which is a lot of times what knife play is. You're trying to disable your opponent and get them down, finish the fight fast, and get away. So I can see a lot of this kind of combat really being more about taking advantage of the puncture system.
Yeah.
Slowing them down, forcing them to repair, forcing them to deal with their own survival, so that that's it. That's the end of the combat, and you're moving on.
I doubt you get to roleplay as a rogue in this game. Like, just you don't use all you do is stealthing and knifing. I don't think it's going to be one of those games.
That's the limitation also of like, I mean, I think it's a good system, but it is a limitation of the death of a spaceman thing. Like, you're invested in your character dying like an actual death. It's not going to be a good time.
I think you're going to be very hard pressed in a final format of this game to find any real one-hit kill techniques. Not really.
I mean, if you jam one of those retaliator missiles down somebody's throat, they're probably dead.
Well, that's a good point.
I actually agree with Nighthawk here, because like a lot of people complain. I see this a lot. A lot of people complain about the time to kill in Star Marine. They're like, oh my god, the time to kill in Star Marine feels bad because it's way too high. Right? It takes too long to kill somebody in Star Marine. And I'm sitting there like, I think I get completely the opposite direction, because I don't think you want Call of Duty level of time to kill in your permadeath open world high risk,
but
like survival MMO.
But that's also the thing. Like that's all we have right now. All we have is CS Citizen.
Yeah.
There is no Star Citizen the FPS experience yet. We're still waiting for that true FPS experience. There is no permadeath. There is no value on any reason
Staying
to try and
alive,
survive.
and that's
an
why you have
operation.
pad rammers.
Right. So it's really going to completely change the approach and gameplay style of most everybody, and it's, I think, also going to help to get people to see again the difference between Star Citizen, the PU, versus Star Marine, the video game inside the PU that is Star Citizen. You're playing a video game inside a video game. Stop thinking too much about it.
I
think
envisage that. I'm sorry, go on.
I think the big thing about the question about the takedowns is that they show the takedowns as being like you sneak up someone, you jab a knife in their back, and you're done. Like Halo style animation takedowns, or like freaking Titanfall style, where you walk up and it's instant death in the back. Now, I think it's enough of a video game trope that it would be acceptable to most people that, hey, you ain't paying attention and someone sneaks up behind you and fucking melees you in the back and gives you a one-hit kill. That makes sense. The difference is that the big difference is that we don't have the res mechanics yet. Res mechanics are going to be in the game where you get taken down by a knife, you're not dead, you're just out of the fight unless someone can come by with one of their magic healing guns and then bring you back to life or drag you back to a place where they can res you. You know, so that's also another thing is that while Death of Spaceman's
everyone
important,
knows epinephrine helps stab wounds. It also on you. Ever get stabbed, just you're good. Don't even worry about it.
And then it also begs the question: when we get into the more advanced format of all of this, what do you consider a victory? Is it a full-on kill, or is it just get them to the point where they're no longer able to fight? Because let's say, for example, someone is in heavy armor and it's a one-on-one fight and you're in light or medium, so you're definitely outclassed in terms of defense. You're going to be faster than them, so perhaps you catch them in the hindquarter, and rather than like in the ships, you're going to be able to focus your targeting on certain areas of the ship, try to destroy components. Maybe you can do the same thing in melee. So maybe instead of attacking the character directly, what if you go after, say, the power plant on the heavy armor, and then suddenly the armature no longer works and they're weighed down so much they can't really move anymore, and the little bit they can move is like Iron Man Mark 1. You know, it's not very so.
Or you're just trying to like destroy the guy's leg.
Yeah,
So you can't, you can't
just
walk anymore.
take an arrow to the knee, you know, that kind of situation. You know?
Exactly.
You know?
Like, so what is going to constitute a victory? Is it really you have to take it to the point of total kill, or is it just simply disabling?
And you got to remember that like we're in a world with like actual like crimes and like, you know, there are repercussions for doing this shit sometimes.
So so how far do you actually want to
depending on like what side you're on in that encounter? Like, hey, I'm actually the bad guy here. I'm just trying to steal a ship. You know, Grand Theft ship is also a little bit different than like murder and then I steal a ship. It's probably like why would you?
CIG has been clear in the past that actual killing of another player, like on purpose, will be very like it'll carry a really high penalty as far as crimes go. It's much worse than stealing a ship. It's much worse than most of the other things you can do.
I'm going to go on a limb here and say that more than likely it'll also ban you from the places,
certain places.
Not just lawful but unlawful. If you get a reputation as being a cutthroat pirate, you just kill everybody you see and take their ship, then other pirates won't have anything to do with you. They're like, fuck you, dude. What's going to stop you from shooting me in the back of the head and taking my ship? Get the fuck out of my space.
That's interesting.
You know?
There will be places where there is no honor among them.
Yeah.
It's not just like good guys versus bad guys. It's a bunch of different
people
factions,
trying to survive.
Period. So like you piss off those other factions, you might only have like one little group that you can stay on, and like, that's that kind of
And
sucks. 'cause,
reputation.
Like, you got 2 systems. That's it.
Reputation is not just an important thing for like where you can go, but it's also what you can do. All of your missions are going to be based off your reputation, and the more reputation you get of being a douchebag, the worse you're going to be. Like the less and less people will want to deal with you, and the more people will actively, like NPCs, will actively try to hunt you, or the game will be like, we're going to set out a bounty for the dread pirate Dovak, because Dovak is going around peeing on corpses that he's murdered, and then delivers the heads to their widows. Like
and then you go to Booty Bay and you grind pirates for like 20 hours.
I envision that with the whole Death of the Spaceman thing, how combat will work is that, we already have a high time to kill, but I feel like things might even end up turning into how it is like in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where you in multiplayer mode, where like you kill somebody, but they don't die. They go on all fours, and then there's a second phase. With larger ships, we've already seen that there's probably going to be this kind of thing, because otherwise, what's the point of having escape pods if you're never going to have time to get there? When your ship goes to like 0 HP, there's probably going to be like a 30 to 1 minute grace period before you have to have left the ship before it blows up if the other guy takes to that level. I feel like the same thing is going to have to happen in FPS as well, where you fight somebody, even if it's a headshot, and you disable them, and they're on the ground. And then you can then basically take what you need and leave them to get the help they need, or kill them. Because otherwise, things will be a bit too difficult to be a ruthless pirate without being a cutthroat pirate, you know what I mean?
Well, that's also why I think it's significant for them to continue their research and development on a potential fisticuffs style of combat, because if you're trying to avoid that, if you're trying to be more of the for lack of better phrasing, the light side of pirating, and you want to get away with it with as little of a dark reputation as possible, why wouldn't you just go on board? Yes, of course, firearms at the ready, but wouldn't it be great if you could duke it out in whatever combat style, martial arts, old school boxing, whatever it is they provide for you. But you can actually go through that. You can take it to the point of disability. You can even take it to the point of kill. It makes that long combat actually make sense, because in a firefight, I don't care what kind of technology there is, you can only take so many shots before you just give. So I think that they have to be allowed by the community an opportunity to explore this non-weapons based combat, to bring it in, because it's going to create such a unique dynamic. People will be able to do that sort of thing. I mean, you can have 2 separate parties, one armed, one unarmed. The armed is just a distraction. The unarmed party comes in, knocks everybody on the back of the head, and throws them out the cargo door.
I was gonna say there's actually some questions where people are like, well, why is, who the hell is saying it's a high TTK? It's a one shot to the head kill right now in Star Marine and in the universe.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Well, right?
The One Sovereign. Yeah, we're on your side. Like we're saying that other people are complaining about the TTK being too high,
and
even though it is very low for like I think they're gonna be, though, that group of people is gonna be very unhappy when it gets just the nightmare that they're building right now.
And they might in Star Marine in the future in the a lot in the game than you do in the universe, but regardless, the universe is going to have a pretty high TTK.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a little bit of a moment there, but it's shutting down some stuff. My computer decided to go a lot, so.
Oh, nice.
It's a problem with 2-cylinder engines.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think they'll work it out. That's just sort of what the that's why we have all these alphas and betas ahead of us. A lot of these finer gameplay design questions will be answered in the next year or so. I also wanted to mention that in terms of the reputation system, we're already going to see some experimentation with that in 3.0. Miles Eckhart's missions will be based on your reputation with him. And he'll have a bunch of different missions he can give you, depending on your reputation. So I think that's that's pretty cool.
Didn't they say they were building out a very similar system for shoot, what's the character name? Ortwin's character.
Yeah. I don't know the character name,
I think
but
it
I know
starts
for
with an
his
F,
as well.
but yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, and it's very similar. That's what's going to work with everything. Like, the idea is Star Citizen is not a universe of bad guys and good guys. It's a universe of shades of gray. Like, even the more that they've talked about things like, for instance, the pirate factions. Pirate factions aren't really pirate factions. They're a mixture of outlaws, renegades, and rebels. People who don't want any part of the UEE, or remnants of rebellions from the Messer era, plus people who just fucked up and have no place to go, and those sorts of things. So it's going to be a little bit more complicated because, like, Nyx is, Levski is not a lawless, anarchical zone. It's more like,
it's more hippie. It's more like,
it's more. I would say it's more like Tortuga actually was in history, which was just a big port for people who were privateers.
Levski is a place for political activists, and it has very little law enforcement, so you get all sorts of people there.
It's kind of like some like weird, like you see like weird like sovereign citizen like compounds like out in the middle of the forest. Like you see these people in like real life. We'll go make like weird militias and stuff, and like they're kind of doing weird shit there, but like no one's murdering each other. That's not what's happening there.
All right, so the next question comes from Ghost Viper, who asks, CCU cross-chassis upgrade. What is your thoughts on the new prices? We already talked about that. So, next one is Brisbase, who asks, what kind of impact do you think the new stamina system...
That's Brybase.
Brisbase. I switched the S.
Brisbase.
Yeah, I added an S there. Brybase. Brybase, what kind of impact do you think the new stamina system will have on Star Marine? Do you think it's going to be a big step towards tactical gameplay, CIG, that CIG wants for the module? Yes. Stamina.
I think it's going to be a big impact on gameplay, like, period, not tactical gameplay, just gameplay.
You add stamina, and they already have weight issues right now. Like, light armor is slightly faster. You move slightly faster in light armor than you do medium armor. So you add in stamina to that. You won't have any more sprinting shotgunners. The sprint shotgunners in Star Marine right now is ridiculous. Like, running up into light armor with a shotgun, point blank shooting somebody in
stop people from doing that as well, maybe.
Well, I mean, just camping around corners is going to be a lot more effective, but you also see people moving a lot slower because they won't be sprinting around corners because they're trying to get to kill. They'll be like, all right, if I sprint, my weapon's going to end up doing this when I stop, so I need to be as little sway as possible as I move. So
they finished doing the work on the new radar, but before this broken radar ever got implemented, Star Marine was so good. Because no one knew anybody was, and so everybody was that bit more cautious. Everyone was crawling or like on a crouch, and they were they were really slow, and it felt more like what Star Citizen would be if you are in a room with 12 other mass murderers and you didn't know who was there. But the moment they gave us the radar and it was broken, so you could see somebody on the freaking other end of Stanton, figuratively speaking, it just was it turned it into what it is right now, which is, I see somebody, there's no one else around, I'm gonna sprint and shoot this one dude, and it ruins any kind of like Star Citizen-ness from this current build.
If you want to talk about like actual like things that will affect tactical gameplay, one of the things I actually think will greatly impact this is the actual interaction system itself. Because, like it or not, that thing is not going to be like a super flawless, like, just run, grab shit, and do stuff real fast. You will have to stop and focus on what you're doing. And just that nature of that will slow things down. So, comparison to something like Arma. Sorry to bring it back to Arma. I've played a shit ton of Arma.
Arma is... the two comparisons I think people really need to make is Arma and DCS in terms of tactical. Like DCS,
Yes.
in terms of flight sims, in terms of how detailed DCS. I don't think we should see DCS levels, but I also don't think we
please
should.
no, God no.
But I also don't think we should see Arma levels of gameplay because it's clunky as
Yeah.
shit because of how complicated it is. But yeah, both of those
You
things
can
are
definitely
nice.
see those elements. So
Yeah.
one thing that Arma does is there are repercussions of Arma being clunky that are actually beneficial. I'm not saying it's a good thing that Arma is super clunky. I'm saying that because it is clunky, there are benefits. There are actually things that work to the game's benefits. That Arma is a very slow tactical shooter. You don't run and gun in that game. You'll fucking die. There's someone on the hill shooting you from 200 meters away. That's the nature of it. Arma is a sit in the bush, move with your squad, let's clear rooms, stick to walls, like you are in cover, peeking over ledges, like you move slow, you move tactical, and if you don't, you're gonna fucking die. That's just the nature of that thing.
Yep.
And one of the things that causes that is the fact that it takes time to do things. I don't mean like shoot your gun or do anything like that. I mean like, oh, I need to like drop something for my friend over here, like give him something from my inventory to his inventory. It's going to take a few seconds to shuffle this around because the inventory system is so clunky. Now, hopefully, like, what I hope here is that CIG can get that result without it being clunky, because Arma is just kind of forcing it. It's like, hey, we're so clunky that the natural result is that everything is so slow, and you have to slow and deliberate, that you have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing, so it's a beneficial result that everything's slower and more tactical. And hopefully that everything being more fluid with kind of like selecting things in the world and grabbing things like that, will be a lot less clunkier, but will still have the benefit of being slower, more methodical, and like that. And they have to find that balance. One of the examples is I actually prefer Arma 2 to Arma 3. And I know Arma 3 made a bunch of changes that made the game way more playable for like the mass populace. But if you are a hardcore Arma player, and like you had several thousand hours in Arma 2, which I did, and not like DayZ stuff, I mean like straight up like Milsim Arma 2, there were elements in that were completely bullshit and fucking everyone hated it. But it made the game better. There was a period of time in Arma 2 where you hit G to open your inventory. Yeah, I know, and then they changed it to grenade in Arma 3, so everyone murdered each other.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember that. I remember getting the Arma 3 like alpha and being like, inventory G.
no,
What the fuck did I just do?
Yeah, grenades out your face. Yeah, it was literally the worst thing they could have possibly done.
So dumb.
But what ended up happening is in Arma 2, you hit G to open your inventory. The inventory's a nightmare, but I'm not even going to go into that. The inventory was almost unusable. But you hit G, and your character fucking stopped and kneeled, because you'll just pull shit out of your backpack in real life. Like, you're not going to be running with your gun out and then, like, fishing through your backpack for bandages.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking take shit off your back, you stop, you do that. And you didn't do that in the game, so no animation for that. But your character does stop and kneel, and you open the inventory. And so it means, like, you're running across a field and you were under fire. You're not just gonna like juggle around some smoke grenades. That's not what's gonna happen. You better fucking prepare that shit in advance before running across the goddamn field. And if you don't, you're gonna fucking die. And that's what made that game really good for people like me that really enjoy like that slow, methodical, tactical combat. And I hope they can replicate that stuff without it being a fucking terrible nightmare. Because at some point, after you have 2,000 hours in the game, you get used to it being fucking dog shit and trash. Because you just memorized everything and just muscle memory. And so you bring your friend in, like, why are my kneecaps exploding on these door hinges? It's like, I don't know. But I've learned how to walk through rates without dying.
To a degree, you're going to have that still the same thing with Star Citizen. However, I think, like, for instance, with inventory being physically rendered on your body, because that's the big thing about that, is that they're like, hey, you have a pocket right here on this shirt that has inventory space. You have pockets that has inventory space. You have a backpack
And it kind of works already,
space.
doesn't it? You can loot stuff off dead bodies on Star Marine already.
Yeah, but then they already have it. Like, if you look at the grenades are actually physically rendered on your body, and when you take the grenade, you actually are pulling the grenade out and throwing it, and it disappears from your body. Like, it doesn't. The space is now available to re-put stuff on. There's similar stuff to that, like in PUBG does similar stuff like that with like kind of physically showing the stuff. But that, I think that's the major difference between, say, an Arma and a Star Citizen, is that like a backpack is going to have space. And so like when you're giving something to somebody else, you actually pull it out of your inventory and you hold it in your hand, because you'll be able to hold all the items that are in your inventory. And the other person will have the option to be like, take inventory and like take items. So you can they'll be able to, with the UI system, be able to pick it up and carry it. It's still slow. It's still a little clunky, but it makes a lot more sense than saying like, hey, drop it on the ground and pick it up.
I want to just run through and mug people. That'd be fantastic. Can you imagine like replicating like people mugging people on like motorcycles, where you have a guy in the back of a dragonfly with you, and you just like roll up to someone, just snatch whatever's in their fucking hand, and just go.
Yeah.
Mwah.
But that's
going to be an amazing thing if it happens.
But that's the thing, is that like that's the same concept with the Mobi-Glass. Like the idea that the Mobi-Glass can be seen by anyone who's sitting behind you. That's the same idea. It's like that's the risk. It's like you want to hand something, if you're in the middle of a combat zone, you want to hand something to somebody. You know, hey, I need a mag. You take a mag out, you toss it to your friend. But, you know, you may suck at throwing, or you may hit the wrong button the wrong time, and now your mag is scattered across the ground and like towards your friend, but still, you know, out of reach. Same thing with any kind of inventory system, where like, hey, I have this very dangerous package, you need to take this, and then someone comes out from the shadows and knocks you in the back of the head with a baseball bat and takes your shit, you know, because they can see the item in your hand. They know that you have it.
Yep.
So
all those MMOs where you can carry a mount in your backpack, or like an NPC's head.
Now, I would like to. I would like decapitation. I would like decapitation in Star Citizen, so I can just carry the head around in my hand, just walk around, like Port-Olisar with a head.
It's the very rare Banu bag of gathering. It's just, a bag of storage. It's just infinite.
All right, next question. Next question comes from Marco. Once the PU is out, how would they explain the amount of people owning military-grade weapons and ships? Do all humans get super rich in the future and afford the amount of things the average Star Citizen computer consumer has? If you're talking about lore, everything we have was over 100 years old in terms of military equipment.
Yeah, everything is built into the lore from the get-go, so it's all been explained away.
Why do we have the P8, where we can go buy a P8 assault rifle at an average weapon shop? Well, why can't I walk down to my local gun shop and buy an AR-15, which is basically the same thing as an M16?
Can you repeat his question again, please? I think you cut out from me.
Slightly. Oh, he said, once the PU is out, how will they explain the amount of people owning military-grade weapons and ships? Do all humans get super rich in the future to afford the amount of things the average Star Citizen consumer has?
It's not all humans. It's not quite the same as in MMOs, where you're the chosen one. But every single player is essentially a captain who owns their own ship, because you bought the game with an Aurora, at least. Not everybody's going to own a ship that can travel across the universe, but you do. You're a player. And you can hire NPCs that fulfill much lower roles than you necessarily need to fulfill. So I guess
you gotta remember that, like, cars in this unit...
ships in this universe.
Ships in this universe cost like the equivalent of cars, because Auroras are like minivans.
Yeah,
right.
Essentially.
And the difference between a player and an average person is that a player has no home, has no life, has no ties. You are the traditional sci-fi spacer. Your job is wherever you want it to be.
Yep.
And so that's why you're like, you can afford a P8 assault rifle, where everyone else has to pay their mortgage, and you know they have to take their kids in the Aurora to school on, you know, the moon that's orbiting the planet or whatever. You know,
and that's why to make it feel a little more realistic, I think we do need some more stuff like Argos and 85Xs and Auroras, simply for cities. Just because I don't want to, because like Bob, who works in marketing down on floor 6, isn't gonna have a fucking Carrack. He's not gonna have, you know, like crazy shit. Like what would
Are
civilians
you
have
hating
that?
on Bob's character?
We,
Like-
we,
like-
we do need super generic ships. You're correct. We really do.
What would civilians in this world like have that like maybe they go to another planet every so often, but like mostly they're focused on their career or on their family on their one planet. Maybe they go across to another continent on the weekends. Like they'd have like an 85 extra. They'd have an Aurora, and like being able to pilot these ships would be like analogous to having a driver's license.
And you also have to
Oh,
consider
also-
there are some examples where it might be military crafted, but it's not military grade. The Humvee of Star Citizen would have to be the Hornet, because you've got the F7A and the F7C. It comes from the same factory, but they don't give you the same components.
Yeah.
The C is civilianized, so you get like the low grade shit, the stuff that they were using 10 years ago
the
that
stuff-
still works.
The stuff they can pull off the shelf of an average consumer, because they're actually not using.
Right.
They're using maybe some in-house Anvil Aerospace stuff, but it's civilian Anvil Aerospace stuff.
One of the things that really made the Javelin compelling to me, and I didn't buy one because I don't have the money, but one of the things that I thought was really cool about it is that they created lore behind it. They are selling you this Javelin. They are basically military surplus. They're completely stripped down. They have almost no components whatsoever. They have no weapons.
You're buying a
That's just
mothball.
real,
You're
by
buying
the
a
way.
mothball.
Have
Yeah.
you ever gone looking at like government surplus?
You can
websites?
actually, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
actually,
It's
you
James
actually,
fucking
Cameron
crazy.
owns a freaking submarine.
yeah, you can,
if
you
it's
can,
like you want to buy some of that shit, you
can
put
buy.
the money together.
You want to
can do it.
You want to buy an aircraft carrier? I'm sure there's a mothballed aircraft carrier you could purchase with the right amount of money. Now, in the same way that a Javelin costs fucking thousands of dollars, which is a lot of money for us, a mothballed aircraft carrier from World War II is going to cost millions of dollars just because the scrap alone is worth millions of dollars. And it's also going to have all the shit ripped off of it, but you could technically buy one,
And, like even like smaller scale, if you go look at like a local government, like not just military, like auction sites, like each state like probably has one of these. I know there's one for Tennessee. You can buy some crazy shit for like ridiculous prices.
The state auctions
hey,
in Tennessee.
Here's a maintenance truck. It's like, give me $45 and we'll call it even. I'm like, okay, state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
I just googled.
Thank you, T-Dot. Thank you, T-Dot.
To check, and yes, some government is selling a 1914 Ford Model T for $25. It's on auction. It's got 3 days left.
$25 for a Ford.
Yeah.
You also,
Some
you,
weird shit, man.
you got to remember that like
Weird shit.
all of the Aegis ships that we're flying as well are also old technology. We're not talking about brand new.
Yeah.
Like the newest ship in Aegis's line is probably the Sabre, and it's like 50 to 60 years old. It would be the equivalent of buying like an F4 Phantom today, or a what is it, like a what was the Comet? One of the early jet fighters, like where you could basically get the equivalent in terms of a Learjet for much cheaper. And other than the cool factor, why would you? And
you got to remember that, like in the universe for a long period of time, yourself why does everyone have these crazy spaceships? Well, for a long period of time they didn't, and then like the Zoot came around, and that was like the first like commercially viable one that was like, hey, like you still have to be rich to buy this thing, but you don't have to be like crazy rich.
And another good example of using these things like cars, we are people today who don't have cars. I have friends who don't own cars. They commute everywhere they go. So at the end of the day, and you can also like say, hey, take a car to, I could drive across country to New York if I wanted to in my car, but it would be easier for me to fly because it's faster and much more, it's less cumbersome to me because I can just go to an airport, sit in a plane for a couple hours and get there, versus having to drive, stay awake for several days at a time and pay money for hotels on the way over. That's the same way why you have a Genesis Starliner, because people sometimes just want to go to freaking Stanton. They want to go gamble in ArcCore, but they live in Terra and they don't want to fucking fly their ship all the way over there. Fuck that. Just let somebody else do that. I'll pay a little bit.
Like
of
getting
money
on
for
a
it.
train.
Yeah.
It's like getting on a Greyhound bus.
Yeah. Just don't worry about it.
And then like you gotta remember that like a lot of times these aren't always like vehicles. Like the smaller ones are like Hornets and Gladiuses and M50s and all the smaller ships are equivalent to like a car or something like that, or a fancy car.
Yeah.
But you gotta remember that like when it comes down to bigger stuff, like like salvage ships, mining ships, these aren't But cars, they're equivalent to businesses and like business buildings. So
Mhm.
it's like, why would a civilian own like a 5-story building? Well, that's not really unreasonable. A lot of people do. They own businesses, and like that's where they live. And a lot of people like live in an apartment above their business.
Mhm.
Big shit.
The next question comes from Jake. Why you know CCU?
We've talked about this a lot.
Sorry, Jake.
Get out, Jake.
Mayonnaise asks, how many of your ships are going to be named Serenity, Enterprise, TARDIS? None of them?
None. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Look, if you fucking pull that cheap shit, I will blow you up. I don't plan to be a pirate. I don't plan to be a bad guy. But if I like have like a cringe, like a reject, like if I like physically revolt and have like a rejection of your ship's name, I'm killing you. That's it.
I have
If you call yourself, if your ship's name is XX Sephiroth XXX, you're dead. It's over.
I mean,
I'm planning to be a traitor too. So like a Banu Merchantman's gonna be ramming you.
I plan on naming my Buccaneer the Golden Showers just after my show on INN the other day. So there's plenty of interesting names that you can have. I've seen some pretty interesting names. I think there'll be a lot of Serenities and Enterprises and TARDISes and stuff like that, just because there's a lot of people who don't know what they want to call their ships. But I think you'd be surprised. The amount of people who have interesting, unique names that are not just recycled names from fantasy or sci-fi series in video games is pretty high. But you also see a lot of references. People will probably name themselves like their ships like the Arthur C. Clarke or the Isaac Asimov or the Salvatore.
the USS
Fuckface. Yeah, fuckboy. USS Fuckboy.
SRC Nimoy.
Yeah. The lots of names like that will come out there. There'll also be the Dick Butt and A. LeMayo.
Those are on the list.
Yeah.
If there's any memeage going on, you're fucking dead.
Auto random list.
Shit's on fire,
I'll
yo.
call my flagship Pepe's Pride. you know?
Pepe's Pride. That's actually not. That's almost not a meme there. Pepe's Pride.
That's almost. You're right on the edge. Bud.
If it was the Pepe's Please, maybe, but or the Feels Bad Man, that might be a different story.
Yes, that feels bad, man.
Next question is no mention of aliens fluids yet. Surprising.
Hey, look,
Uh,
That's not a question.
That's not a question.
we're not.
Dolvac, answer it. Answer it.
Okay, look.
It's a stupid question. Answer it.
I was told I had a problem after last week's show. I'm sorry. Look, okay, look, you motherfuckers. Okay, look, there are rare commodities out there, and some of us get our hands dirty. So, I like my rare cuisine, my Terran cuisine. You know what's in that shit? Fucking Banu semen, motherfucker. And like, we gotta get our hands.
Banu semen. Oh my god.
Transport.
I forgot about the Banu semen. I forgot about the Banu semen. Oh my god.
That was bad instantly. You know how hard that shit is to transport? So you motherfuckers can have your grilled cheese sandwiches. Fuck you.
I had forgotten about Banu semen. Thank you for reminding me that Banu semen was a meme that came up. It was invented here on the Captain's Table. Thank you, Dovac. Thank you. Oh god. All right. So the next question comes from Aldo Brink, who asks, I know we will be able to tinker with our ships by buying new components and overclocking components as well. Do you think we'll be able to increase our ships' top speed and or afterburner speed as a result of this? Thanks. I really enjoyed the discussion.
Yes.
Almost
Yeah.
definitely.
Supposedly, yes. I mean, idealistically, that's the goal, but it will eventually come at a cost. So the higher you overclock whatever component or system you're trying to work with, then you're essentially giving up on some longevity. The degradation is going to be much more significant and at a more rapid pace. So it's going to be a very, very precise style of gameplay. You're really going to have to mess around and try and find the exact right balance.
Yeah. So the other thing could be like fuel consumption. For like you could definitely increase your top speed, but it'll come at a cost of like quantum fuel. Like every time you quantum jump, you'll be able to go faster in quantum jump and in normal space. But the result is going to be like you have very shitty fuel efficiency. So you're super fast, but you fucking gas guzzling, so it's going to cost you more money.
You basically range limit yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of the drawbacks, like having a gun that
Or
can
it's
do
like,
a little
hey,
bit more
like,
damage or fire a little bit more
You
bullets.
could have 5 more SCM speed, like over max for a Hornet or whatever, but you better go replace your power plant, which maybe.
Yeah, right.
So at the same time, it's like
Knock-on effect.
like guy 1 can escape because he has like a slightly slower quantum spool up speed, so he can jump out of there pretty fast. But the other guy has his time and money to upgrade his weapons, so it's
that's the balance. Yeah. And we'll start seeing that with 3.0 when we can actually start seeing components that matter in ships. That's the big key. It's like that's already done. It's already in the game for 3.0. We know it's going to be out. Components start mattering. Your heat balance is going to be an issue you have to think, as well as power balance. So,
I think we should address Doem right here, because he's saying how he really hopes so. He's saying that they should focus on it, and that the only real crafting that we know of right now is essentially overclocking. But that's not really true, because if you go back to the Endeavor concept sale and all the information they were putting out on the Endeavor and the various pods that come out with the Endeavor, there are certain science pods that are dedicated to modification and overclocking, and then there are other pods that are dedicated to things like manufacture, complete and total R&D. So
yeah, I mean there also has to be some. We know that research is in the game, right? And there has to be some end goal to that, like. Or I mean, at least to the level Tony Zervek will want to design it, there has to be some end goal to research. So I think there's going to be. I have this inkling that there's going to be the ability to research and manufacture different things.
Yeah, because it can't just be do the research, sell the data packet as a commodity. It's too small of a chain there. There's not enough going on. You have to be able to take it at least 1 or 2 steps further, because you're just crafting data packets. That's nothing.
Yeah,
and there are other things like there's growing, like you can grow. There's farming in a way, in its own way. That's a
we'll probably have things like
that feeds directly into. I completely forgot. There's a pod that's dedicated to you being able to craft your own medications.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
So
drug manufacturing.
Yeah, and it could be R&D drug manufacturing too. So the key is that at a certain point, we're not there yet, and we're probably not going to get there until much later in the game. That I'm sure what they'll start introducing is things like they'll have a certain, I won't say like Fallout 4's weapon modification system, but probably not too far away from that, where you can have certain shells that you can purchase, and then you can put certain components in that will do different things, and you can experiment with those. But that's the reason why exploration and science is so far away, is that that shit is not even if they do that, they haven't even talked about it yet. It's not something they've even planned. So
they've actually basically said the Endeavor is the last ship they're doing, because
it requires everything else.
It almost requires every other part of the game to be done.
Yeah.
To include
actually
ATC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty. Next question is from Jake. Why do you mistake me for smelly Canadians?
Isn't he Canadian?
No. He's Bostonian.
Good Boston.
He's from Boston. He's actually moving to Texas soon. So
then he'd be a Texonian.
Yeah. Texonian.
Isn't there like something about Boston and
boxes?
Doesn't that still count for smelly?
It is pretty smelly there.
It is pretty smelly there. I've been there.
Have you ever been to a PAX East? Whoa! Like day three PAX East. There's some stank.
There's some bright motherfuckers there. Yeah.
I can't say that I've been to a PAX East, but I once went to a baseball game at the Green Wall, and
basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's better than San Francisco, which smells like pee everywhere.
There's drunk people yelling.
I blame the seagulls.
Wow.
I live in San Francisco. I know. It smells like pee everywhere. It's like living in Paris.
I can smell it from LA.
You make Paris sound so romantic.
It's super romantic if you can get over the smell of urine everywhere. It's like to here to drink our wine and have a romantic evening. Ignore Pierre. Ignore Pierre. He is just relieving himself in the corner.
What is it about San Francisco? Because every time I've heard someone from San Francisco talk about San Francisco, they literally talk about human feces on the streets.
It's human feces literally on the streets.
What the fuck is wrong with you people? Is it just like hell over there? Like
No.
Same thing could be said for Hollywood.
Yeah,
The
it's
pigeons are on strike.
it's-
Someone's
the-
gonna do it.
Oh, don't remind me, because last time I was in Hollywood, I was literally fucking ground comatose. So don't,
I remember.
sidewalk. Don't worry about it.
the there's just a lot of homeless folks, and like entire streets have been taken over, like blocks and blocks and blocks of people taken
And
over
they're
by homeless.
shitting on the streets.
And there's
like,
there's no facilities they go to. They just take it down on the
Okay.
streets. You know,
it sounds like, why would you live there?
why do you think I'm moving?
Where are you moving to, Paul?
Austin, Texas.
Wow, lots of Texonians.
So the next question comes from a number 6 with an extra dip. It occurs to me, do we think Grimhex will stay in the same location for 3.0? Yellow will presumably have a lot of mining, and then having a private base that close seems a bit cruel. No, it doesn't.
But even before the implementation,
You broke up there.
This is not the lore-based location. It's like Delamar Levski. Delamar Levski isn't even in the Stanton system. It's just a finished zone. And so they're using it within a test bed that doesn't necessarily reflect the lore-accurate universe.
Yeah,
It's
well,
supposed to be in an asteroid field. It's just not supposed to be in that asteroid field.
Right, and
Yeah.
Yellow was the only asteroid field they
It
had.
would,
at the time.
it'd take about 5 minutes worth of work to just throw it somewhere else.
yeah. Well, no, the thing is that asteroid field is actually supposed to be exhausted. It's supposed to be resource exhausted. So Yella is the headquarters of the Ninetales right now. So that's why the Grimhex is like their proxy base in the asteroid field. If you go down to the actual Yella, there will be a spot where you can find a bunch of angry pirates who have been yelling at you this entire time in 2.0 to 2.6. Yeah, who will just now be pissed at you, and you can shoot them with your assault rifle instead of your ship guns. So
Or your ship guns down on the planet.
yeah,
Do the freelancer from
I can't wait to hear them they're gonna fly off, Civvy, and then just boom, 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 boom. What was that? Can't hear you over my orbital bombardment, motherfucker.
That was one of the best moments of that entire demo. Oh crap, I'm out of ammo, and then the freelancer comes down and just wham!
And that was completely
On the fly.
ad-libbed. Yeah.
It was.
Best FPS weapon, freelancer. Next question comes from Lemwhip, who asks, what job would you like to see that isn't known to be in the game, or job that most people wouldn't think about? Bartender.
Bung Seaman Harvester.
Bartender. Nighthawk?
Honestly, I am one of those people who's really, really interested on exploring the functionality of a flight operations facility on, say, like Iris, and actually running the flight operations.
It would actually be really cool to like have
Yeah,
to watch a player like take over like air traffic control. For,
I
like,
used to do that in the military,
Yeah,
and they have enough of a complex system in terms of the interactive system, the component system, the ATC. Like, technically, it makes sense. There should be functionality there for someone to pull it off.
It's already in Squadron 42. You will have a flight
And-
ops
so
guy who's
why
on
not
the
be
air.
able to
It
do
wouldn't
that?
be super hard either, because like all they have to do is like it wouldn't be super hard to troll people. All you have to do is be like, hey, like don't allow you to like tell people to like land on preoccupied pads. That's easy. It's pretty much easy. And then like all you have to do is reward the person for like successful landings. It's like, hey, you get X amount of UEC for like successful landing, and then that's it. You're done.
Well, the other thing you can do...
I finally came up with an answer to this question. No, go ahead, Paul.
So the other thing is that if you on like say an Idris or like a large carrier, you're going to need someone who, because it's going to be so much the chatter that goes back and forth in a typical combat situation. If you ever listen to like radio in the middle of a combat, you can't hear shit. It's just people screaming into microphones. So you need to have someone.
You start to separate and segregate that. That's why you have on like larger ships like a Bengal, I would assume you've got ATC probably up in the bridge or one of the upper decks where they've got at least 180 to 270 degree view around the ship, and they're the ones who are manning all of the communications for local air traffic, and then you've got flight operations down in the hangar deck, and they're the ones who are in charge of all the ground traffic. They're the ones who are in charge of all the taxiing. They're the ones who are in charge of all the takeoffs and all the landings, and all of that communication is going to be segregated to those functions and to those specific job positions, because otherwise it's utter chaos.
Yeah, which is the reason why you'll need to
experience.
Yeah,
have you ever watched like an Eve organization, like an Eve corporation in a large scale battle, and like listening to that shit? It's complete utter nonsense. It's just people yelling about interdictors.
So like the holiday live stream video.
Yeah,
it's basically like.
By the way, guys, I'm sorry.
You don't have to dig that deep, man. That's just fucked up.
That was painful. We actually did a post show for that, and oh my god,
we did one here.
That was not at all the original script.
Yeah,
I remember watching that with you, Eric. It was you, me, and like Shiver or something, and we were just sitting there. David, and we were just sitting there like, this something is not right here.
This is really bad.
Something's not going right here.
I would love to know what happened.
Yeah.
I know what happened. It's just like a multi-layer collapse of just everything. Like
everything went wrong at once.
It just.
How about you?
Wait a second.
How about you, though, Nakara? What were you? What kind of position do you think would be interesting in Star Citizen?
It's not in there yet, but they've hinted at it at being able to do this building stuff. So I think a contractor.
A contractor.
Or you actually come in
like a construction
people.
Yeah, building stuff on planets or building like space stations.
Yeah,
dropping halves. Like actually, yeah. No, it would be cool if like, because it's a little bit weird if like the military or the government or just like the world in general like allowed people to just, I'm gonna go grab my house and just drop it on a planet here. That'd be weird. So it would be cool if like, hey, you gotta go pay someone, another player's gonna roll up, or an NPC, and you're gonna be like, I want it there, and they're like, sure, and they have a ship that's outfitted to like hold these things and like deliver these things and do all the attachments.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. See, Nighthawk knows the answer as to why the live stream is so bad, but he's under NDA, so he can't say shit. Meyer, how about you? What kind of position do you think? Because I think you mentioned that like the airline host,
right?
But that's already part of the game. It's like part of the.
Yeah, I mean it's all well and good, you know, like exploring the verse and stuff. I feel, but something that would be intriguing would be to have all these multi-crew functions and features that we currently have, like, you know, in the pipeline, and to put it into something, say, along the lines of Deep Space Nine. So you have a space station that is monitoring a jump point, and there will be space stations monitoring jump points. If you read the lore, there are space stations monitoring the most stable jump points all around the universe. It'd be awesome to have a space station.
Actually, wasn't there like aren't jump points like inherently unstable, so they actually have to like build stuff to keep them open?
No, not all.
No,
not all.
Really?
Some are stable. There are some that are
or like artificially stabilized.
And then there are others, and then there are others that are completely unstable. And it feeds into the whole exploration mechanic where you regularly have to scan it, update the data packages, and push
which is
out.
why ICC probes exist everywhere, is because their job is literally to scan for those changes. So.
Well,
not
necessarily the ICC probes. Those are more like deep space listening posts. So they're like transceivers.
But they also scan for even Tessa says she's scanning
Tessa
for jump
says
points,
when you first talk to her,
jump points and
right.
all that kind of stuff. So it's more than just deep space transceivers. They're also looking at to try to chart the changes in space, because space is not stagnant; it's always changing. So
okay, I misunderstood that to mean strictly communications.
There are actual in the lore, and they actually showed the construction on one of these one time. They were working on the design, but the way that communication works in the verse is they can't transmit through jump points. So there's actually going to be huge communication arrays that are right at the jump points, and they send little
probes,
probes through the jump points to deliver information, because it can't get transmitted through it. So that'll be really cool to see those things in action too, with all the little drones flying back and forth.
And then that's also
follow the trail of drones.
and then you also have to wonder the sort of Drake Herald traffic that you'll start to see with that, because that's an alternative means of transporting communications through jump points. And sometimes they were saying using a Herald-based courier service is going to be even faster than standard communication probes through jump points and the like.
Right. And I just thought that it'd be interesting to think about the design implications that would be involved with having multi-crew features onto a large like truck stop or space station that would be captained by a player. Like you'd have the people in engineering trying to keep the station up afloat. You know, like you have to listen to all the needs of the people. You have to make sure the reactor doesn't
people.
overload.
You gotta listen to the needs of the people. Then they're saying, oh, we want food. We want a living wage. And
Star Sim Citizen.
That's where it starts.
Yeah, if you've ever heard of a game
give them a
called
mile mire.
if you've ever heard of a game called Space Station 13,
Our
it's one
atmosphere
that
is
Dean
toxic.
Hall-
We don't like recycled air. Fuck you, people.
Doldak is firmly an inner planet. He doesn't like the Belters. Belters suck, apparently, to him.
Tisk.
Sorry, go ahead,
But
Meyer.
if you've ever heard of a game called Space Station 13, it's one that a lot of the producers have started and like hop on about. Dean Hall from DayZ has also gone on about it, but it's basically that, you know, like life on a space station. Everybody has their roles, and it's up to you to keep the thing from falling apart and going, you know, to hell. And it'd be interesting to see what life would be in a more stationary kind of thing. You know, like you still have your quest, you still have your your day-to-day play-by-play will still be different, but
The
you'll be
answer is
traveling
mostly
space.
hell.
Yeah,
That's the answer. Is mostly hell. Most of the
it'd
time.
be interesting.
Like I saw 90% of the games in Space Station 13 are basically hell.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, the fun part about that is having a station in a stable area is things like commerce, like being able to register, having people come on and tank up, so you can basically run like a truck stop. Also, can be like a trading spot where you can like trade some stuff. It'd be like owning like a small mom and pop gas station. Would be kind of like, I can imagine like it, or something that's more combination, like combination gas station, research station. You know, because you could also sit there and be like, hey, you know, we're gonna analyze this section of space and do a bunch of science. You know, or sell this stuff to the ICC because we're doing these constant surveys and they don't have something here. So I could see that being interesting. That would be more of a long-term goal, though, I think.
Yeah. Also, as a large organization, it'd be awesome to have a kind of base of operations that people can come and go to in that respect as well.
Definitely. Can I just really quickly, Lemwip's question?
Sure.
They're asking, so do they have to hook up their ship to these drones in order to transmit? And the answer is no. Your ship is just going to put out its transmission. The comm arrays are going to pick up the transmission, read the destination code, and try to push it to this relay station that orbits near the jump point.
Oh,
because these
almost relay station, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Saturdays at 2:30 Eastern. I'm sorry. Continue.
I like that. That fit perfectly. Because these signals can't actually get through the jump point, they have to be physically carried. So this relay station,
pinnacle, the foundation of the universe, really.
this relay station is there to pick up the transmissions that you've sent out, and it takes care of physically carrying it through the jump point for you. It's not that you have to physically hook up your ship to the drone system. No, it'll do that automatically, and it'll do that even if you're not within the same zone to have it rendered in. You don't have to physically watch it happen. It will happen.
It's a data stream. It's what it is.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that that's what makes traveling in unknown space difficult. Because if you're in a brand new system, you just jumped into a brand new system, you will not be able to transfer any data back unless you have probes, or you have the ability to jump back in and then send a message. So
then even worse, like if you are a couple systems deep, that in systems that don't have, like, because even not even just newly discovered systems, a lot of the outer systems don't have these relays. And so if you're a couple systems deep into unknown territory, you have no way to get a signal out. You have to go back, and then if you get back without dying, then you can transmit.
That, or find a trustworthy courier service, and then here we are again relying on a Herald.
And that's the reason why, say, systems like Nyx and Null and Spider are so dangerous.
I want to get a Herald and just be like a shitty UPS driver, which I'm sitting in the back of my Herald, be like, shit,
Shit. Reading everyone's mail? Yeah.
Everyone gets their package all
Throwing
pre-opened.
data packets into the void. Fuck it. That's gonna be me.
No, but that feeds into the idea. Like the reason why you have to constantly turn on comma rays right now in 2.6 is because those comma rays literally are the only things that are transmitting data around them. That's why if you turn off a comma ray and you shoot someone, no one knows you shot somebody because there's no one paying attention. Whereas if if you're fighting an area that is covered by a comma ray, the comma ray is picking up all transmissions that are being sent. So, assuming you can basically submit a complete record of the battle that was going on between you and another ship, a pirate ship, and then now that relay station has all the information of the pirate who attacked you. That's the reason why, and then it also is the reason why, like lawless areas are going to be more dangerous because there's nobody going to protect you out there. You're alone. Good luck, kind of thing.
At least,
One of the things I'm really curious about is to. Sorry, go ahead, Nico.
he's just saying no one's going to be there to protect you, but that's not necessarily true because if you pop a beacon up and you're offering the right price, someone might show.
Yep, they might. What I wanted to say was that what I'm really curious to see is if it will be possible to isolate systems from the communication network. Like if you want to do some sort of large scale attack on a system, whether you can like position fleets near those relays and destroy all the probes coming out of them, and basically cut it off.
I mean,
from
they said
communications.
they did say that the potentiality for that style of gameplay is there, and those original talks, if I remember correctly, are part of what spawned Operation Pitchfork.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see if we get there. But it would be really interesting to see the gameplay implications of all of the communications go dark from X system.
Yeah.
And how the game world would freak out. It would be interesting.
So, Dralark, I just call him Doctor, but DR33LAKK, Dralak. He's kind of a new citizen or interested in getting the game. How difficult is it to pick up and play the game from scratch? Is there a lot of stuff to choose from starting with choosing a ship, all the way to modifying it with weapons, engines, etc.? It seems to be a lot to learn. What would your advice be a new player picking up stuff quickly and learn quickly? Thanks.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. I mean, if you come in now, then you'll be. I mean, unless you're one of those guys who go into the game files and you try and find the most optimum builds for weapons. There's nothing else right now in terms of builds. Come 3.0, when we have the new item port system and you can customize your ships that much more with things like different heat sinks and all that kind of stuff, then things will become a little bit more of a thinking game for optimum builds. But
like 90% of people, including me, and I'm sure including a lot of people here, I don't even know any damage stats or stats on equipment.
I do.
I guarantee.
I do know thanks to
I know a few
SC4. Thanks to SC4, I do know that armor on ships is actually more weak to lasers than they are ballistics, and that ballistics actually aren't as effective on armored ships as they are on unarmored ships. So that if you're going to go up against a Super Hornet, you need to have lasers.
The Super Hornet has 30% more damage mitigation thanks to its armor than any other ship.
Here's what I tell most new people to Star Citizen when they show up in my channel. It's a very simple process. You have two choices. Do you want Star Citizen, the sandbox experience, or do you want Squadron 42, the story-driven, pseudo-single-player campaign? Second choice. Do you want an Aurora or do you want a Mustang? That's all that matters, because all you need is $45 to break your way into the game. Anything beyond that, what you want to build as your experience, it doesn't have to come out of your wallet.
And
this community provides you the experience you want and need. So with just an Aurora or a Mustang in your pocket, in your hangar, wherever you keep it, you start making friends, and in no time you're going to find yourself on a freaking Constellation, on a Caterpillar, on a Starfarer, taking on crew positions you never thought that you were going to be playing at as soon as you start the game. And that right there is the best way to learn what Star Citizen is about and how to play it.
And you're messing around in your for like a couple weeks. Then suddenly you're like, oh shit, I've been playing this game. I have this digital money now. I can buy a prospector if I want to go into mining. I can buy an Avenger if I want to do some bounty hunting. Your time with the game will allow you to figure out what you want to get up to.
Now, the big thing to understand is that if you were looking for more like technical, how do I pick up the game and learn how to play, there are two things I suggest. One, first off, does it have a learning difficulty? It has a bit of a learning difficulty. It's not difficult to figure out how to fly. Flying is simple. WASD and your mouse. That's it.
Yeah, fairly intuitive.
And Q and E's roll. That's it. But when it comes down to the more technical side of things, learning how to getting your first kill is going to be difficult. It's going to take a while. There's a high learning curve for fighter pilots, whereas everything else is not as high of a curve. Just the basic stuff isn't as high. That's going to change sort of, but not too much. And the best way to do it is in Arena Commander. Go in the single player free fly, just fly around, practice flying, get comfortable with it, do some Vandal Swarm or Pirate Swarm, and with NPCs.
Bless you.
Thank you. To get more of a handle on that, maybe play some Arena Commander, maybe play some Star Marine to get a better handle on how everything plays around there, and then jump into the universe. That's probably the best way of doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Should also be noted. I mean, I'm sure person is aware, but the game is far from finished at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, be prepared to sort of come along for the ride as we go towards trying to finish the game. There's a lot more to come than what's there right now, I'll tell you. We probably got 1% of the game, maybe.
Not even. Yeah.
Maybe not even 1%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even.
Well, probably. I mean, once the end of this year, if they hit all the goals they want to hit, then it'll probably be something like 10-15% of the game, maybe even 20% of the game, just because there's so much added to the foundation through 3.0 and 3.1, 3.2. But we'll see.
And it is significant to point out too that right now is probably a fairly good time to buy in, because once 3.0 drops, like we were saying earlier, the price is probably going to go up. The complexity of the game and its interactivity is definitely going to go up. So you have right now an opportunity to start learning the basic functionality, how to move as a character, how to move as a ship, how to fight and survive as a character, as a ship. And then when 3.0 drops and everything we've ever known Star Citizen to be disappears and it turns into Star Citizen, what we've always been waiting for it to be, it's a whole new experience based on what you used to know. So all that complexity that they're about to drop in your lap, you don't have to worry about. You already got the basics.
And you're also not going to be learning that stuff alone.
No.
Because like we as a community, we know the what, we don't know the how, really. So learning all that stuff and how all that stuff works is going to take us being in the game together, to be Reddit and Twitch and everyone else learning all that stuff at the same time. You're not already get behind. We don't know absolutely everything of where stuff in 3.0 is going to be, what switches you got to hit, what buttons are going to. We don't know that stuff. We have no idea. Oh, this gun's going to be better than this gun in 3.0. We don't know that stuff. You're going to want to do this to your cooler in 3.0. We don't know that stuff. And you're going to have to figure that out with us.
We also
even
don't know
those of
what
us
the
who are
most,
familiar. Sorry.
We don't. No, that's okay. We don't. We also don't know what the most interesting locations will be. We don't know what gameplay opportunities there'll be on the planet side. But I can guarantee you that the actual amount of gameplay from what we have now to 3.0 is going to be a massive jump. So
I wouldn't say massive. I will say it's a significant jump.
Well, it depends how much time you want to spend exploring planets.
Significantly massive.
Pretty big.
Okay, so let's look at what Star Citizen is now, and let's look at what 3.0 promises to be. And then we look at the scale of pretty much any other video game project we've experienced to date. It's a pretty massive jump. It doesn't necessarily feel significant to us because we've gotten to a point where we're used to, 84,000 kilometers cubed? Massive space? So, no, it doesn't really feel like a massive step to us. But in the overall view, encompassing the industry that is video gaming, this is a huge leap. It's a huge leap. We're jumping into a fractal universe where everything is controlled within zones, within zones, within zones, within zones, and vice versa. On the macro scale, on the micro scale, you've got all kinds of AI being implemented that no one's ever seen before. You know, these 24-hour cycles, these thought processes, these professions. That, I mean, you could stock NPCs.
Mhm.
You can actually stock NPCs, and
Yeah.
you would have to in order
Stock
to learn.
as in
And it won't be illegal.
yeah,
Well,
as in
no, I'm
like,
so- okay, so
I'm going
let's
to
say you
watch
take
the
on-
crikey. We're going to watch the elusive shopkeeper for one day.
So
you
let's
know?
say you take on a bounty, right? And your bounty is an NPC. Now, you may not be the only person who's taken on this bounty. And perhaps that person is in a location where you can't just walk up to them in the middle of the street. This isn't Xandar. You
Yeah.
know, they're going to walk up and they're going to arrest you. So you've got to be a little bit more cryptic about your activities. So you might follow the person around for a couple of days in game, and you might notice you're not the only person tailing them. You might realize, oh, hey, it's 2 hours after their lunchtime. That's the perfect opportunity for me to bag them and run. And like, there is. I need to stop talking. I'm talking too
It
much.
makes
Yeah.
me think, right? This game might be a lot more like a pre-WoW MMOs, where there were time schedules and stuff for like. say,
Well,
specific
there
bosses.
definitely will be. I mean, like,
Yeah.
WoW kind of killed the sandbox MMO.
Mm.
Like WoW was like not the first, but one of the biggest. Actually, the biggest is not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like oh god, what's the word for it? Theme park MMO. It's a theme
Yeah.
park MMO. It's like they,
Yeah.
they built this empty husk of a world, and it's a very good world, and I have a lot of love for that world in like Azeroth period because I fucking love World of Warcraft. But it's not alive. The world is not alive. It's empty. It's dead. And it's the same system over and over again of them sprinkling enemies around. You go, you pick up a mission, you kill a bunch of enemies, or you take this item to here, and it's very well made. It's very well made. But the point is that it is made. It didn't do stuff itself. There's no dynamic gameplay. There's no event that are kind of coming out of the natural systems in the world. It's a husk. You know,
It's inert.
it's a very pretty husk. It's a very, very good, pretty husk. And there's nothing wrong with husks, but it is a husk.
And you know, I mean, again, I love WoW, and everything you say about it is correct. It came out 13 years ago. Believe it or not, that dynamic worlds were not really. It's the one thing that always bothers me about it is it's not dynamic. And dynamic worlds then were very difficult to create. Actually, very good example. Chris Roberts. One of the reasons he left game making was he couldn't do what he wanted to do. It wasn't technically possible to make what he wanted to make, so he left. And that was about the same time that World of Warcraft came out. And you know, here we are 10 years later, and they can do it, but it took a while. Actually, great example of a dynamic world, although it's, I don't know, it feels dynamic to me. I don't know how dynamic it is. And it's single player, but The Witcher 3 did a really good job of feeling very alive.
It did, yeah. And once again, The Witcher 3 is one of those husk games. It's you know, it's designed, but it's designed well. That's the point. Like there's nothing wrong with that type of thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like 3 or 4 years ago, there was a big thing where people were like, "Man, fuck linear games. I want like really open games." Right? I love linear games. There's some great linear games.
Look at Mass Effect. Mass Effect is one of those games that
First.
pretends to be like the original Mass Effect trilogy pretends to be an open world game. It's not an open world game.
Not, yeah.
It's a linear experience with some minor branching.
If you make a well-crafted linear experience
Portal
to make it, it not feel like restrictive. Like the problem is not linear games; it's bad linear games. And same thing with open world games. There's because
plenty of bad open world games.
Once everyone started talking about like, oh, open world is like the future of everything, and like all the games are going to be like this, and there's no more linear shit. No, like it's still possible to make a bad fucking open world game. Bad games are just bad games. It's just how it is. Like people bitch about There's actually like a post on like the our games Reddit. It's literally the top post right now, and it literally says procedural generated. It's like a self post. Some guy just talking about games. Procedural generation in games with larger game areas to me now means a game is cheaply made and lacks a team of level designers. And that's not the truth, but
It's not untrue.
it's not untrue.
It's because of the
that's the No Man's Sky issue. It's just that
Yeah.
it's a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
And that
it's
is
a whole lot.
exactly why. That's exactly why Star Citizen has gone to such great lengths of, yes, we have procedural worlds, but once the world is procedurally created, we have an artist go over it and finish it because there's a lot of stuff that we need to put in that procedural generation just can't do. So that's why they're doing the assisted procedural, because there just is no way to create an algorithm that makes a world like Crisis, for example. It just doesn't happen.
Now, that was all handmade, and that was handmade over years. Now, the idea of procedural generation is to use tools that will cut down that dev time, so it's not like... Because before this, you'd have to literally start with you'd have to build a surface of a planet, then you'd have to build on top of that surface. Now it's just like, hey, the surface is already generated for you. You just paint and you just put down shit that's procedurally generated. Mountains, lakes, rivers, all that kind of stuff. Then you go back and be like, all right, let's move the river over here. Let's change these lower these mountains, move these mountains over here.
And you want to drill down. You want to drill down, make something specific. You want to make a little cave. You want to make a ravine. You want to like make something like very specific and like art driven. You want to make a building. You can totally do that.
Yeah. And I think that's the future of it, but we'll see how that works. Anyways, moving on to the next question because we're over time here. I want to get through this. Do lizard people have knives or bats? The one Sovereign asks.
They have knives. They have knives attached to bats.
Oh
Knife
god,
bats.
Bat knives.
Bat knives.
You see that thing right there? It's a secret UE weapon. Trying for years, but they made spiky bats. That's it.
Spiky bats. That's just a spiky bat. Perkin99 asks, can we grab a big box and sneak around in it? I hope so.
Hope so.
I hope we can just put
I mean, straight up solid snake.
solid snake style, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If we don't have some sort of reference to Solid Snake in the covert missions in Squadron 42, I will be upset. Something like seeing a box and be like, really? Can I actually sneak around in that box? Who thought would be?
you try and you get
I think
destroyed.
they've like even directly said. I think at the CitizenCon demo when like they were like in the Javelin, I think Christopher it said like, "Hey, this is how we are like planning out stuff like for stealth segments in Squadron 42." So there are like stealth.
Yeah, I know there are stealth segments. That's the reason why I'm saying like there needs to be some references to Metal Gear Solid.
I'm not even sure if it's so much specific stealth segments as it is more.
You can go loud, or you can kill the one dude. Yeah.
Avenues. Yeah, more like some of the more recent sprints of Splinter Cell, where you could go the very loud run and gun route, or you could go the very sneaky. Takes a little bit longer. You don't necessarily fall into combat, but you get more rewards for doing it that way. So I think it's that they're trying to allow for players to be able to approach a mission from various different avenues in terms of trying to achieve the mission objectives.
Alrighty. Next question comes from Aldo Brink, who asks, seeking revenge in the verse sounds like a lot of fun. Say a player wants to shoot you in the leg and steals your favorite ship. Most people would seek that player and enact some kind of revenge. But since the PU is so large, do you worry that it might be almost impossible to track down a single player in such a vast universe?
No.
Low jack and insurance.
That's what part of the reputation system is for. That's the whole purpose of information being a purchasable commodity in the game. That is what organizations are about. Yes, you can do it. That's bounty hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually going to be that is one of the reasons why information will actually be a commodity. Exactly what Nighthawk said. You will very likely, very, very likely be able to go to an information dealer and be like, I want to know where this player is. Tell me. And it'll cost you 10,000 credits, maybe. But if you offer the right price, they'll be like, yeah, we saw him here like 8 minutes ago.
Yeah, like an NPC, a dealer, or even an AI, like a player.
Sometimes you could end up finding yourself in one of those Eckhart style experiences where yeah, sure, I can do that for you, but I need you to do me this favor first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then the case of like Miles Eckhart, if like the situation where Miles betrays you at the end of the at the Gamescom
That was
demo,
so good.
I'm sorry, but NPCs are permanent, or you can kill NPCs, right? I'm about to kick down some doors of Nick's and murder me a Miles Eckhart. You know, ain't nobody getting Miles Eckhart from now on. I survived this. You're dead. You're dead, son. You know.
But see, that's also what's really exciting about the way they're trying to build out the final format of this mission system is that, let's say that is the case, and you do go after Miles Eckhart and you are successful. That doesn't mean that this is no longer a location to go to for missions. That just means that Miles Eckhart is no longer the go-to guy for missions. Supposedly, you can go to almost any NPC and strike up conversation and eventually find some kind of mission therein, or something that will lead to a mission. But potentially any NPC in the game is supposed to be able to feed that line of gameplay. So
I wonder if. Sorry, go on. I thought you
Oh no, sorry. I'm just finishing off saying it'll be really interesting to see if they do decide to do that and incorporate permadeath for NPCs as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wonder if a hero quest giver like Eckhart, if like you do finish that chain, and like for instance, that the end of the hero chain is that he betrays you and you survive. I wonder if you'll then be permanently phased out for you, or if you'll still be there going, "What? What do you want?
No.
Fly off, Civvy. I'm busy giving this mission to this new guy over here." I mean, like, it'll be a bit jarring if he's still there.
It's permanent and impacting on the whole of the universe. You have to remember the original promise of this game was that we affect the permanent history of this universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now
it goes.
The question is, can you figure out a way to get into that base with an armed force?
Mm-hmm.
If you can.
And it would be very easy for them to script it out in a manner that if, yes, someone did end up taking out Miles Eckhart, maybe his second in command is the one who steps up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they throw away hours of, well, days of man hours, basically, of work that went into, like, filming and performance capturing hero quest givers to one day just delete them. I don't think that they go around that.
Well, it's not to say that they delete it, because I'm sure a lot of that data can be taken and massaged onto another rig. So the face may not be the same, but all the skeletal structure and all the movement actions within that face are going to be very similar. So you could sort of cheat that.
But what about
I don't
his
think that they
voice and
would
all that other
throw
kind of
away
stuff?
data. Again, it could be recycled. How many people have a similar sounding voice? It's not to say that it's on the same exact tone, voice verification and all that jazz, but to the human ear, it's similar enough you can't really tell the difference.
Just
It
replace
sounds-
Miles Eckhart with a different guy's head who has hair.
Well,
Exactly.
let me put it this way:
That feels and sounds too cheap to me.
NPCs
But
do have lives. They already do. Like in this point, you could go to an NPC. At least you could, because before you could move them, you couldn't. Like you can't move them now, but you could when you could move them out. If you could move like an NPC out of Grimhex, you could shoot them in the back of the head and they would be killed. And then if you went back to the spot where they were, if anyone went to the spot that they were, they wouldn't be there anymore. They'd be gone. They have permanent lives that can be ended. I think the key is that CIG needs to make it so that NPCs who are quest givers can still be killed, but it requires a lot of effort on the player's part. And then they have to also have a contingency in plan. Okay, what if Miles Eckhart dies? Number 2 man has to take over. We need to start scripting the number 2 man so he can do similar missions and so on and so forth. Or it switched to another quest giver.
And you also have to understand that even something as simple as killing one single NPC is, in fact, the player directly affecting the current dynamic of the economy, political
They said that the
structure.
players aren't going to do that.
They can.
They can.
Just
Yeah.
not
to
And
that
it's not like
degree.
Not to a macro
no, it's
structure.
not, it's not
Yeah.
like we're going to go into an area and because we kill one NPC, we've just started an entire war. That's not the impact we're going to have. But
Right.
Miles Eckhart is someone in charge of an organization, and it's an organization of X amount of persons, NPCs, players, it doesn't matter. So all of these people within this demographic have now had their world dynamically changed. And so
Right.
within that little bubble, within that space, everything starts to change, and the economy that comes in and out of that has already started to change. And so in those ways, in those, I guess for lack of a better term, microscopic ways, that's how we're going to be affecting change and
Right.
causing that dynamic feel
It's my
within the
it's my
verse.
personal belief that the quest givers that they've assigned as hero quest givers, perhaps maybe, I mean, most definitely 3.0, you will definitely not be able to kill them. When the game comes out, hero quest givers, I still don't think you'll be able to kill simply because of all the effort that goes into the performance capturing stuff. I feel like it's too much of a cop-out and too much suspension of disbelief to basically have to say, oh, he's saying the exact same lines and the exact same voice, different head.
So then,
But he calls himself Isles Eckhart instead.
Yeah,
Let me
I
finish,
would
please.
agree.
Let me
Go
finish,
ahead.
please.
Go ahead,
But
Mar.
I
Sorry.
feel like other quest givers, non-hero quest givers, a guy at the bar who talks to you and gives you a mission, he can die, sure. He's got a name, he's got everything, but he's not a hero quest giver. He doesn't have a celebrity voice actor. He doesn't, those ones for sure. But I feel like these ones that kind of drive the narrative of the game itself forward, I don't think you'd be able to have that much agency on them as you.
I don't see a way you'd be like it would be reasonable to be able to pull that off. Like how what you're saying, Myra, is like like you had those hero quest givers. Like once you have someone named and has like an actual character behind them, it's I can't think of a way you could possibly do it. I think it'd be cool if you could do it, but like I can't think of a way that is reasonable.
I think the
And then,
only
like,
reasonable.
what you do is you have like mission boards, right? You have the mission board. Like if you have like two tiers, you have the hero people and you have like mission board tier people. And if you have a mission board like tier person, like hey, you walk in this bar and it's just some dude and he's just like go take this shipment there. Then you can kill him off, and then you can like easily replace him with someone else. Like, hey, go take the shipment there.
Yeah,
that's
I
easy.
guess the main question is, why do you assume you can kill Miles Eckhart? I mean, like, what makes you think that he'll be in a room that allows you to take a gun inside there?
That's the other
no,
thing.
yeah. See, I don't think that you could just walk into the room and straight up kill him. But I do believe that there is going to be an opportunity for you to kill even these hero characters. You have to remember. What was this, like 3 years ago now? Chris Roberts was talking about the death of a spaceman and surviving long enough so that you no longer have to really, for lack of a better, worry about death of a spaceman. If you survive the verse long enough, he wants to get us to a point where we can retire our characters into old age. And move on into the next generation of character and come back and visit these characters as NPCs. But he talked about NPCs like equipment in the game having a sense of longevity and physical degradation over time with age. So that begs the question, if you have hero characters like Eckhart in the game now, is my third generation character going to be able to come back and talk to Eckhart? It doesn't make sense, because how is Eckhart able to stay alive for so damn long when the natural cycle of a character within this world it's already passed 3 times over? So there has to be a way for them to be able to recycle at least the animation rigs, because look at it, they don't have thousands and thousands of mocap actors to capture to get all these different styles of walk. They're going to be recycling it, and even when they record all the mocap data, they have to take all that mocap data and then they have to customize it to all these rigs that they're creating. It's not just drag and drop. So there's already the work that goes into it, and I don't think it would be too difficult for them to create something like Soul Ed, where it's a tool that allows them to stitch together these micro animations that they've broken all these things down into. So I do think there should be ways for them to be able to incorporate that, because otherwise they can't address the longevity of characters.
The other
Well, I
major
mean,
issue.
there's a thing. I mean, sorry, Paul, but like that's like saying, why can't you well, in let's say a theme park MMO like World of Warcraft, you have a hero mission. You can only do it once. You can only do it once. That's it. That's like you saying, why can't you go recycling Miles Eckhart missions? Because you've done it. You've finished that story. Your third generation character isn't going to be able to do it because you've done it. That story is over. That's how I would go about it game design wise.
But Miles Eckhart still, as a character within the verse, exists, and
you can build it
other players can come in and experience him despite the fact that what should have been his lifespan is already come and go 3 times over.
I
So,
think that's the player expecting too much agency over the game.
Do you think so?
It should be enough. It should be enough that you can't see him.
Now, my big thing, and here's the thing, is that the concept of the Dread Pirate Roberts. If you remember that discussion, where there are some NPCs in the game who are going to be significantly difficult to find and kill, or significantly hard to affect, that you can kill that person and be known in game for killing that person. In fact, I think the way that CIG is planning its future changes in the universe is based on players' agency in the game. What do players do, and how do they affect the NPCs? Things like Operation Pitchfork is an example that even they kind of pull out at this point. It's like saying Pitchfork is going to have an effect on the universe. No matter what, CIG is going to have Pitchfork be a catalyst for something else, just because it exists. So something like killing Miles Eckhart could be a thing. You could easily kill Miles Eckhart. Not easily. You could kill Miles Eckhart. It could take you an entire organization and tons and tons and tons of lives of players to get to that point, but you could do it. And at that point, it would be such a huge mission that it would affect not just Miles Eckhart, but it would affect the entire game. That's the idea, is that, like, the idea of having invulnerable NPCs for the sake of having invulnerable NPCs in a world where you're supposed to have agency killing some specifically hero named NPCs, if you're really good or really lucky or really talented, doesn't mesh the same way, if that makes sense. So, and 3.0, of course, Miles Eckhart is going to be fucking invincible. All of the quest givers will be invincible. But I think in the final game, the issue is how much agency will players have to change the story, to which the CIG has said before that they want to have players to have agency to change the story. Not in the sense where you could, like, crash the economy, but enough so that you could, say, force the UEE to send a fleet to, you know, this one place, because you know that they know that this guy who's been going on a murdering spree, who just, like, ripped through an entire mercenary organization and, like, shot up Nyx, shot up the Grand Bazaar, would make sense, and then that's going to affect the economy and affect the gameplay overall. But that's, and of course, it's got a permanency to it as well. So that's my big thing. So
I'm actually really now that you brought that up, and I remember that, I'm actually really curious now how this is all going to go down, because I was trying to figure out where I landed on this, but they have talked specifically about characters like Dread Pirate Roberts and how he will be gone once somebody kills him, and they'll be noted in the Galactopedia as the person who killed him. And so I'm not sure. I'm really curious to see how the gameplay mechanics work out with that. And
the heroic pirate who killed Dread Pirate Roberts was XX Sephiroth XX.
That's right.
yeah.
And it's very interesting. Like Sterling Y there in chat said, I do mocap. I own 2 rigs. There are ways to retarget the data onto multiple characters. The hurdle is with facial mocap. Changing the voice is a no-brainer. You could even change an adult male to a child female with no fidelity issues. But facial mocap will be the problem. But, I mean, that actually wouldn't even be that big a hurdle, because you could probably get somebody to come in and do the facial mocap with their rig that they already have in no time.
We've seen them crush facial mocap already between genders and everything. That's not an issue with CIGs.
Plus, if they already have to do voice recordings anyways, why not just throw them into the rig while they're recording the voice work?
Yeah,
kill 2 birds with one stone.
The face animation specifically, yeah.
I'm really curious to see if this is going to be possible and what kind of effect it would have in the game. Now, I have to say, it wouldn't surprise me at all if at some point CIG's like,
it's too complicated. We're not doing it. Yeah. Yeah, if they back off on something like the Dread Pirate Roberts and those named NPCs and that kind of stuff, that's fine. That's not a huge issue. It's just one of those things that would be one of the major step backs they would be one of the, if not the major step back they do from the game design standpoint, because that was something they'd been talking about since before the Kickstarter, in terms of like what they wanted to build, and that hasn't been changed at all. So
I think killing Dread Pirate Roberts is a bit different from killing Miles Eckhart, though.
I agreed.
The Dread Pirate Roberts
having a rare spawn is different. Like having like a super rare mob pirate that you find out in the world. Most MMOs do that, and then and it'll be super easy because you're not. If you just kill this guy, then all you have to do is classify, give another NPC a difficulty level slightly higher, give them a unique identifier, and call them, ooh, now this is the Dread Pirate Billy, and then you basically have recycled that content and you're done.
It could just
Yeah.
be the same thing like what you get in The Princess Bride. It's the same title. It's just a different person holding the title because it's never the same person seeing them twice.
Yeah.
This is
Anyways.
an interesting conversation.
Yeah, let's move on because we're like almost 2 hours overboards. So this next question comes from Darthspock, who asks, it would seem logical that for the time humanity has been in space, the wrecks will cover that whole time. Do you think some wreckage for salvage will be from antique ships, and there will be a chance to rebuild the Model T sail for a collection? No. I think you'll be able to find Zeus's probably, and maybe older ships.
Find some rare stuff.
They did
but-
confirm that you will be able to find things like derelict Zeus's, but those are like the super rare loot.
Mhm. Yeah,
I really, 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 really want them to have the historical ships in there, but the amount of effort it goes to making a ship, I'm not sure if they'll do a lot of them.
they don't have to be
can easily
flyable. They
explain
just have
it
to
away.
be.
They can easily explain it away with this, like, hey, yeah, you might have found this salvage thing, but it's basically like you can strip a few rare things from this like salvage Zeus that you find, scrap Zeus. You can salvage a few cool rare items. You can resell them in the market, but there's no way you could ever repair it because
The parts aren't being made
these
anymore.
these-
They're literally
these components aren't
800
being made
years
anymore,
old.
They don't exist.
It would be like trying to find components for a forge a forge that was made in ancient China. Like, being able to
it's like
you can recreate it maybe, but from the original parts, fuck that. You ain't finding shit like that.
If
Like,
you
you
can
have to
find
go to
derelict
museums
Zeus,
and like rip
Yeah.
I actually think it'd be
I
really
don't-
cool if you could sell those ships to a museum, like
Yeah.
intact. If you can like
It
total them
belongs
apart.
in a museum.
sure.
Yeah.
But
But we definitely will have those rare like salvage opportunities, like alien ships. Alien ships are rare. Like I definitely think we're gonna find like Kurthak stuff, but just like really rare stuff. It's like, hey, I don't know what the alien looks like, but this is like some piece of Kurthak technology that's just kind of here, and like we know that the Jean we're like doing stuff with them, so we found a derelict Jean ship, and then they have this super locked box with like crazy markings all over it, and it's like, oh my god, what is this? And like they've talked about alien artifacts and having rare stuff like that. There definitely will be those elements of super rare spawns like that, and I could definitely see those throughout the history. Whether or not you'll be able to repair anything other than the newer, like
I don't
past
think
few generations
I
of ships
honestly
around
don't
this
think I think the derelicts are going to be different from abandoned ships. So like if you find an abandoned Aurora,
Yeah.
you may be able to take that Aurora and bring it back. But if you see like at a constellation that's been split into 4 different pieces, you ain't repairing that. That's done. And then I think
Hopefully
to
you
a
can
degree,
take stuff out of it though, like a
Yeah.
reactor core or
you
something.
can go salvage components and stuff.
but you won't be able to like put it back together and like repair it.
Yeah.
That's I don't think that's in the cards for repair.
No.
For
Especially if
repair
it's something like a Zeus. That sucker's been out there for how many hundreds of years?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not likely. And the
almost
technology has changed so much. You're better off to just take your paw tool, laser cut the name and markings off of it, and just keep the panel,
Yeah.
hang it on the wall.
Totally. I actually think I think the derelict ships and the abandoned ships and the wreckage and stuff is a lot of people ask the question a lot of how you populate the universe with things to go and see. I think this is a big piece of that puzzle.
Mhm.
And even like I would actually really love to see things like wrecked space stations and maybe even space stations that have crashed into the ground. I don't know. I think it would be really cool.
Actually, we kind of maybe saw a little bit of that in like an ATV
Yeah, I
a few
know.
weeks ago.
That was weird.
Yeah, it's just like it was the ATV with all like the crazy infinity grids
Mhm.
on the planet, where there's like flying around, they pan down, and it's just like, is that poor All-Star crashed into that planet right there? Like, wait. And then it's like never mentioned it or just brushed completely over it.
It's been
Like, no, you can't do that shit. And it's like someone just like built a base around it because there's like roads and shit. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You can't just brush over that.
Are you kidding me? There have been parts of Port All-Star that have been crashing into planets in terms of like in their artwork since December. Like I've seen work with like parts of.
Dude, have you not seen the rings just kind of
Yeah.
fall off all the time? Like they just fly away.
They just fly away. Yeah. No, but I'm serious.
rings.
Like
They're replacing those things
There-
every
there-
like weekend.
there are actually crashing. There's actually
Yeah.
pictures of crashed All-Star rings on planets that you use for promo pictures that they've sent out to like magazines and stuff like that for the future. So
Oh, that's cool.
so like
Because there's in that image that Dovak's talking about. There's like there's like the big rings of the space station. It looks like in the background, and it's like half buried into the ground, and you're like, huh.
And then there's like stuff around it that had been like a base camp had been built like around it or something. It was like,
Are you
He's
sure that's
never
not just
mentioned
from
it.
like? Are you sure that's not just like embracing a meme because of all the bugs of the rings coming up and spinning around?
It could be.
Probably.
But it's also-
Probably
it's also-
embracing them.
It's also using your assets smarter, not harder. Working smarter, not harder. Take what you
Yeah,
already got,
exactly.
crash that shit into things. You know, people are like, is that all a and be like, yeah. Well, funny story. This guy named Dovak decided it'd be a good idea to see if he could deorbit the space station, and guess he could. You know, kind of. You know,
I guess he could. Yeah.
they
like,
kind of.
this is like this. This is the start of an anti-patteramming PSA right here. There's a reason you don't do this. Okay, it's right.
So, Bela Dre asks, how safely would a person be able to make a profit as a mobile special interest merchant?
What?
I think it's like the idea of selling like oddities and small rare items.
It's almost as if there's a ship like built for this purpose called that rhymes with Kanu Urchin Ann.
Yeah. How safely do you think that would be? Like, how safely do you think that kind of profession would be?
Not at all. That's why it has such huge guns on the front of it.
I mean, honestly, it's
You ever notice the merchantman has these gigantic guns that come out the front?
yeah, it's
Well,
also
maybe.
it's also the reason why mercenary companies exist. You will probably, as a merchant or as a trader of any kind, you're probably going to want escort missions, unless you're going like doing a milk run, and even on milk runs, you don't know.
I don't know. I think that's also going to really depend on where you're going.
Yeah,
Because I mean, I saw Volume 2 this morning, so I'm all Guardians of the Galaxy mode right now, and I just keep going back to the first one. He tried pawning his shit on Xandar, and that was one experience. And then he went to the Collector, and that was a completely different kind of experience. And why wouldn't you be able to have similar situations if you're one of those traders who really specializes in those exotic high value items? Then you're not really trading at standard markets. You're jumping from location to location because you're trading directly with enthusiasts, with collectors, with
rich people who have too much money. Yeah, that kind of idea.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
All those people who are flying 890 jumps.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's also going to depend very heavily on the location that you're going to, the reputation of that location, and the general culture, because you do have to watch your back sometimes.
All right.
Have you stopped talking about Guardians?
Yes. Well, he didn't say any spoilers.
Okay.
He didn't spoilers. You're
I
talking
heard
about,
Guardians. I was like, nope.
he
Nope.
talked-
I'm
he
not seeing it
Talk
tomorrow.
about the first one.
he talked about the
Nothing to do
first
with
one. He talked about the very first one, about how
Right. I
the
will not talk
experience,
about the second
the experience
one,
of
don't
trying to sell the Infinity Stone in the first movie, like how
Right.
he went to specific dealers. He wasn't going to like a market. He was going to specific people in specific planets who might have interest in it.
Yeah,
Okay.
just different experiences.
The next question comes from the One Sovereign, who asks, "Serious one, branching off the topic of information travel times. How do you think they'll balance that kind of information travel times with people just talking over Discord, etc.? Because you're dealing with
They've talked about this.
it's
They've talked
lo-
about this multiple times.
it's location, right? It's like the idea of locations and of areas, and you're not selling them to your org mates. You're selling it to other people.
They have no intention of doing this. They like they say like how do they prevent like people from like using Discord to like talk to each other? They don't. They can't.
No.
They have and what's smart what they're doing is smart because they have no intention to.
Yeah.
Like the idea is that you use Spectrum to talk to your org mates, even if they're on the other side of the galaxy, and then when you're together, it's directional audio, and then like you go outside that range, and now suddenly
Yeah, but what
you
about
just
like
hear 'em.
the information that you would be like what makes who gives a shit about a herald? Like, why would you be a herald other than you transporting NPC shit around?
for selling the information? Like
Because
I mean-
you have to transmit that data is the data. You can't actually tell somebody, X, Y, or 0100010000111100. Like that's not going to help
well,
you.
you can. It's
That's
just
not gonna help
You're
them.
gonna have a hard time.
Yeah, so like the actual location in game is going to be a actual data point, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so the only way to tell them that is to actually send the data to them, which requires either you to be close or for you to send it long distance through the game's communication
And,
system.
and you can easily just go and be like, hey, I'm in this system. Go around here in the system, and then you'll just find me, and we'll just do that. You could do that, but like a lot of the time, you're not going to be doing that. If you want to like sell this asteroids data, you want to sell this jump points data, you're not gonna. That's not how you're gonna do that. You're gonna just leave and go do something else. And while you're leaving to go do something else, you're gonna go pop by the nearest data transmitter and just sell it on the market, and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So
Actually, I think the concept, one of my favorite concepts in this game is the concept of information and data being a commodity, because it's not really something that's done a lot in other games, or at all, depending on which game you're talking about. And the potential for gameplay is enormous, which is really cool.
Not to mention the fact that you factor yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
next question.
There's a possibility. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Paul. There's actually a possibility that there could be a star system in the game that only one player knows about, and he could know about it for potentially even weeks or months with nobody else being aware of it, and that is really cool.
So the next question comes from Drelak again, who asks, "I've just bought the game. What would be the first 3 important things to do in game?" Download
Install it.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while. The other thing is to check out Arena Commander. Try to fly around your ships in free flight, offline mode, single player mode, and maybe check out Arc Core in the universe just to see like the idea of a landing zone, so you can see stuff around that. And then, of course, number 3 would be look up online YouTube videos and talk to Twitch streamers about like specific tips and tricks. Like I wouldn't be able to give you specific tips and tricks because I don't have a ship. I don't have the game on me right now. If I had the game on playing, I could show you like how you get out of it, your hab pod, and then go down and get a ship, and then go in the ship and go do missions and all that kind of stuff. How you open your mobile glass, but there's lots of great tutorials out there for that right now on YouTube. So I'd definitely check those out as well. Last question we have is from Max RSTN. Do we have information on possible consequences Squadron 42 will have on the MMO part, like character sharing, stuff to unlock and keep in the universe, maybe even small stuff like pets?
Yes, they have talked about that. They have said some of the things that you collect over time, either items or reputation with certain NPCs, can and will carry over from Squadron 42 to the PU. So any service medals you have, those carry over with you. Let's
even
say
your character design, you can probably port over from single player to multiplayer.
That's what they make it seem like you'll be able to do. Yes,
Well,
and I'm hoping
also-
that that's the case.
Also, one of the simplest examples is if I remember correctly, you'll earn money for your service in Squadron 42, and that will carry over as starting UEC for your character in the MMO.
Alrighty. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out with us here tonight. This again is what we do every week. It's supposed to be 2 hours. Lately, it's been 3 to 4 hours, but it's at least 2 hours a day. Myra's dying because it's like 2 a.m. there. Go follow all these people.
Don't do that.
Follow all of them, watch them, stalk them, talk to Dolvac when you're watching him. Tell him how horrible he is and how much of a disgusting human being he is.
I love the abuse. I get off on it. So come on by. Let me know.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, I am going to be and live. I'm going to actually be uploading my weekly episodes to SoundCloud. Like I'm going to go do last week's episode and then do this week's episode as well today, so that it'll be on SoundCloud. There'll be a link on the YouTube, and I'll also put it on my Twitter and everything else like that. So that because there have been people who've been asking if they could listen to it, because a lot of people like to listen to the podcast on their way to work, and so We'll be doing that there shortly as well. I used to do it, but then there didn't seem to be a lot of call for it, so now people are asking for it again, so we'll kind of come back to that. Thank you all for hanging out. Like I say every night, hope to see you guys again soon, but if I don't, hope to see you someday in the black. Have a good night, guys.
Night, everybody.
Night, everybody.